Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Happy New Year. This is the first live stream of the year. Howdy, Cody. Good to see you. Cake or Death Game. I guess you're new. I don't recognize the name, but welcome to the show. We're just going to kick it, chill. I'm going to do some painting. George is going to do some painting. Omen's going to do some rapping. Uh, you know, I don't know how good a rapper he is, but there we go. Okay, that's
Oh,
cool.
which type of bug is that from?
It's a Blacklist fantasy set series.
Oh,
Okay, that's
is
new.
that a board game or is it a?
It's I don't I, my the GM of my OSE game.
Yeah.
He
Here
he lent it to
Bo.
me.
Welcome to the show, Bo.
Told him I needed to.
Hold on, I can't see myself.
He gave me this box. It was most of it was he already painted, but like half this box, like so painting them for him.
Can you send us a link at some point
to the
to what you just showed?
Oh yeah, I could send a. Is it yeah, Blacklist?
I've never seen it, never heard of it, and you know me, I'm always looking at new stuff.
I always love monsters.
And yes, the day went exceedingly well. RPG Dad, welcome. Daryl, welcome. Yeah, it was a busy day, filled with all kinds of crap, shopping, and Jackie went to church. I didn't get to go because I was in OGGM's Shadow Dark game. Had a freaking blast. RPG Grandma almost died 4 times, as in she went to 0 hit points, had to make a death save, and miraculously our cleric was able to cure light wounds. She's a 3rd level character with 7 hit points.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, not for us or her. I mean, she did survive. One of our other characters got separated from the party hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. We don't know. She got teleported. That was Jen's character, the Bard. Hopefully we'll see her again in 2 weeks. If not, she'll roll up a new character. My ninja was awesome. I did all kinds of ninja stuff, and I almost died too, but, I made it.
It's that chance of death that makes it exciting and fun.
Absolutely. Tenkar was talking about it, but I already did my YPC's Must Die video years ago, and I don't feel like talking about it again. I said what I got to say, and if I could, I would put a link to the video up there. But I am going to.
Can't you put the link into the chat?
No, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a video about the ever-revolving cycle of topics that we must are compelled to talk about ad nauseum, which I'm kind of not interested in doing. I've actually, prided myself on trying to come up with new stuff to blather about. Like I did the Star-Lord Omnibus. It got like 9 views, and those were all sympathy views because nobody gives 2 shits about it.
The problem is, I think if you watch it on the premiere, it doesn't count as a view. I typically watch your videos on the premiere because they usually drop right about the time I go to bed.
No, because even my my video that I did on AI art got like over 500 views, and that was a premiere. Nobody cares about Star-Lord. Most of my friends out there don't read that many comic books, let alone omnibuses, let alone one that's like in a niche freaking, micro corner of the universe of comics. I mean, it's the original Star-Lord from 1974. Nobody cares. Nobody remembers the character except me and a few other people. I love the character, so I got the book. I wanted to talk about it. I can't. They all can't be winners.
Well, and at the end of the day, I've been looking at it, and it was I was listening to you put it up, and I don't usually like doing the premiere because I like to listen to everything at 2x speed. So, and Premiere only lets you do it 1x. I'm like, So,
okay, I must sound like Mickey Mouse, but okay. Cody says I've been playing Warhammer first edition role-playing solo. Yeah. Almost had a total party wipe tonight. The only game I ever played solo, and I'm not joking, was Arduin. back in the 70s or 80s, man. It was the only game I ever played solo because I was the only one who could understand the freaking gibberish and weird ramblings and put it all together in my head. Had a lot of fun, but no bragging rights because nobody cared. It was, what's Arduin? Mostly because back then I wouldn't even let my players touch my Arduin books. It's like ruler, hands off. That's verboten. That's my secret weapon that you can't look at.
I mean, when it starts coming to a lot of, I know you like higher power stuff, but I generally hate anything that's superpower or superheroes. So,
all right, Cody, did you watch the video? Can we rap sometime about Star Lord? Now, niche and weird and Gonzo and just full on, sci-fi, fantastical it was. I mean, there's a lot of characters that can fly through space and stuff, but he was one of those that was like midway between the cosmic level, but at the same time, kind of relatable, had his own little ship. He just freaking fun as a kid.
well, I'm looking at when he's talking about the solo RP. I like doing it to learn combat and rules before I have the players go through it. But I don't know. It's but yeah, I just looking at him talking about that. I don't know. You really should ask him about. Well, it's not your thing, but Warhammer 1E versus 2E. Which one do you like better? No,
I only have the first edition, and I read through it, and you know me. Had I played it or gotten it like a long time ago, I'd be more into it. But like I was telling Old Man Al the other day, I tried to calculate how many hours I've spent gaming, and it's in like the hundreds of thousands, like 100,000, 150,000 hours, because I used to play like every day, nonstop for decades, every day, 6 hours. And if I wasn't playing, I was reading, studying, making dungeons, and I consider that all the same freaking thing. So I played like all kinds of things that I didn't want to play because straight down the line,
Yep.
guess I'm running a cleric, and now I'm spoiled rotten, and I just want to play what I want to play, and if I can't, I'll find some place that I can. What's up, Squirrel?
Squirrel!
Bo,
Squirrel!
you've got an amazingly crazily neat work area. You've got like 10 times more workspace on your table than I do. I've got this much space.
Nope. I went on a cleaning bender, and I organized everything. I got a whole new set of racking. I got like the warehouse style racking.
Okay.
That fits, totes. And I've got 2 sets of that behind me, and I've got there's still some stuff on the floor. Behind me, direct on this far wall, when the folks that owned this house before us, they put some like kitchen style cabinets up back there. And unfortunately, I overloaded them, and they collapsed one day while I was at work. It sounded like, I guess it sounded like an explosion down here, and everything went everywhere. And I spent months cleaning everything up because it was just so much stuff. And then I got 2 sets of heavy duty steel racking. I'll do a tour. I'll do a tour video.
Yeah, I'm too embarrassed to do one of those. My area is a freaking disaster. I've literally got 500 bottles of paint over here, a bunch of shame over here, and
my immediate workspace is looking really nice.
Wow, that's really nice. I am super jealous.
Oh, wow.
I love the fact that you can actually display, I'm not sure. It looks to me kind of like you've got like car model kits or something up there.
No, this is all paint rack. These are all paint racks.
For me, for some reason, it looks like model cars or those blister carded, like the one yellowish thing in the middle up on the second shelf. Totally looks like some sort of big freaking car.
This is all. It's all.
I don't know why.
So there's the first one. It's the one right below it that to me kind of reminds me of.
Oh no, that's a rubber glove dispenser. It's a glove dispenser.
Oh, okay.
It looked like
Okay.
a car, man. It totally looked like a
Yeah.
car.
So no, I've got like I've got gloves, I've got paper towels, I've got all of my lamps, I've got like, I've got multiple lamps with daylight balanced bulbs, and I got these lamps from IKEA, and the lamps were like $10, but the light bulbs are super expensive. If you want, daylight balanced LEDs, they're 6 or 7, $8 a piece compared to the lamps, which are also $8 or $9 a piece.
Cody is absolutely right about the artists, from the back in the day. Because I got into GW back when they had that game, like not Starfleet Wars, but the predecessor to
Battlefield
Battlefield.
Galactic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the one that had the elven ship with the sails on it, where you rolled your dice in the box because it had a tic tac toe pattern of
Yep.
hit and
Oh,
miss.
yeah, I remember
I
that.
forget what
Yeah.
that was called. I got that. I got Space Marines and something else, like even older. That was my intro to GW, and I have all the magazines from back in the day. The original Rogue Trader. John Blanche was one of my favorite. Wayne, another one. Paul Bonner was actually one of my favorites because not only was he a painter, he was a sculptor, but he was like the main artist for Doom Trooper, Warzone, Mutant Chronicles. He painted like 6 giant freaking portraits of all kinds of crap going on, and then they took little tiny snippets from those 6 pictures and made literally over 1,000 Doom Trooper cards, filled all their magazines, and then he went on to like do the sculpt for Hero Clicks with the superheroes and just a crap ton of stuff. I've even got an autographed Doom Trooper card by him. So like he's like one of my favorites, obviously. Um,
Obviously.
White
uh,
Dwarf issue 10. That's in like the early 80s or
yeah,
late
that's a
70s.
little further than I have.
Mid
Yeah,
80s,
I'm more like
early mid
GW
80s.
in the 50s was like the first ones I got because back in the day, when I was buying this stuff, I was in my like 15 to 18 when I started, and paying for a magazine was like a hard item because for the same amount of money I could get almost 2 blister packs of miniatures
Be right back.
and
Okay.
miniatures or a magazine. I'm going with the miniatures. Dungeon Minister, welcome to the show. Come on.
Dungeon Minister,
Yes,
Father Aaron
absolutely.
in the house.
It has Sabbath Flexi Disc. I don't even know what that is. Cake or Death, please explain. Dungeon Minister, if you want, I'll send you the link in the actual chat. I'll take a chance because I'm crazy like that. And you
Well,
guys all
I trust Father Aaron to keep his pants on.
right, but Cake or Death, not so sure, buddy. You're brand new, so I'm gonna have to vet you a little bit. Hope you understand, but if you know the lore
If
of this
you
crazy
if,
channel,
if you go into the Discord, you should be able to find the link for the live chat.
yeah, you can go to DM James's site or other people. Hey, Coco, I'm glad you're here because now that you're here, I was waiting for a couple other people. A little bit of bad news. One of our regular players is taking a break for the foreseeable future, so we're gonna have some room not only in our Friday Savage Sword game, but my Barrows and Borderland game. Might only be one night a week, depending on a couple of other issues just because I don't quite have enough for 2 games right now. But I am going to do some announcement videos starting Monday to maybe recruit a couple more people already in my jammies, not presentable. Okay.
Who's in his jammies? The
Well,
Padres?
the
Dungeon
problem
Minister.
is he's in the bunny jammies, with the pink, just like it was for the
Like the ones
Yeah.
from Christmas Story.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. It's fair. Still appreciate you dropping by. Everybody else that's hanging out on a Saturday night. Man, this last December was crazy, wasn't it? It
Well, last
was.
month.
It was this last month. Yeah. For us, it like rained every day almost, which is absolutely unprecedented where I live in the desert, and just all kinds of just weird stuff. Super busy and uh, just I don't know. It felt mind you, my family was gone for half the month, so it was just me and the dog, but it was still felt like like
So did you eat the clown lady?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The clown lady, from The Boy and the Dog.
Oh no 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 no. You know what's funny though? You guys know my dog, most of you. He
Chewy.
hates baths. He hates it. If he hears the word, he is gone for 2 days, hiding under the bed. Today I scooped him up like right after dinner, which totally took him by surprise because he knows if the sun's up, it could be shower time. But if the sun's down, he's safe. So I scooped him up, gave him a quick shower, trim, and everything. And normally he won't come anywhere near me for like another 2 days, because he's all bent out of shape. Because I just gave him, the torture, you know, uh, treatment. But he's been following me around. He didn't go hide afterwards, and I guess he's like kind of getting over it. It was a little struggle. He doesn't like it,
The
but
bread and the popcorn.
yeah, well, there's that. If I crinkle the popcorn bag, he'll be back up here. And normally, nothing will appease him for days on end after he gets a shower. But today he was like,
They do not count as jammies unless you wear them on your head.
He just walked right back in. If I call him, he'll come up and come here, Chewy, come here, boy, come here, good boy. Oh, so beautiful. Oh my God, no stink, no matted hair and stuff. You look just gorgeous. You're a beauty. Everybody's gonna love you tomorrow. Yeah, Jackie's in there singing, preparing himself for the D&D game that he's running tomorrow, using AD&D rules. And oh my God, we're gonna have like 6 or 7 kids in the house. We're gonna use the Dungeons and Lasers terrain. We're gonna just pulling out all the stops for that game. And I even sent, I know, Bo, sorry, didn't mean to spoil it for you, but that video, that particular guy, I think he's from New Zealand, a huge YouTuber I've never heard of, and he's a little soft for, like what I normally hang out with, a little, kind of metrosexual, whatever, 5e kind of player. But man, he nailed it.
That's all I have to say.
He nailed it on being a showman as a DM, which I try to do, but sometimes I get a little lax because I'm playing with such good friends, and I don't feel like I gotta, you know, go all out. But I'm gonna try and fix that this year and be the most over the top GM as I possibly can. So watch out. I'm really gonna focus on that in the games that I am able to run, because like my D&D game is now down to 3 people. That's a bummer for me. So for my D&D game, if anybody wants to play on Sunday, wants to play like a 10th level character, come on in. I got no problem with it. Maybe my players will, but at the same time,
10th level, that just means that they're like a year behind us.
Right? I know. That's how crazy the game is. And then for Savage Sword, we need another couple of players because I have a feeling one other player might take off because the other player took off. And my Barrows and Borderlands games, I've got a total of like 7 players for 2 nights, and I don't know that because 2 guys want to play in both sessions, which is cool, but I don't know how that's going to work. You're supposed to run some MERP tomorrow. Ball goes well. Excited to get back. It's been quite
GM Cody, if you want to play in MERP, I know that Ye Old Geek does. He just did a MERP game this week. I think he does it every other Saturday at 2 p.m. Central.
Cake or Death, that sounds like a blast. Listen to this, folks. I'm doing a setting, a rules agnostic. Okay, that's wacky and avant-garde. That is a parody of action 80s cartoons. It's set 300 years in the future on an alternate Earth. That sounds freaking so right up my alley. We've all like, or a lot of my
Inhumanoids.
No kidding, right? Space Ghost, Thundar, all that stuff.
Herculoids.
Herculoids.
Oh my God!
Johnny Quest.
Can we throw in a little Johnny
Legion
Quest?
of Super Friends.
Maybe less of that, just because it's so
Come
kind
on,
of.
everybody wants to be the Legion of Doom. You give a fortress in a swamp that looks like a giant Darth Vader head. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if we're playing the bad guys, yeah. Uh,
I used to love
Or it
that
also
Hanna
looks like the
Barbera's
okay,
World of
Coco,
Superhero
appreciate it.
Adventures intro.
Yes, yes.
No, the
Cal,
one the racers, you got to be Snedley Whipsnatch and Muttley.
Penelope Pit Stop.
oh God, I love that cartoon as a kid. Excuse me, I had a major crush on Penelope. I love that name. Uh, and Cal, really, you don't want to see me strung out. So just bear with me. If you need to, put together an intervention, just let me know so I can not be there. And it will be family friendly. I got sick of trying to do edgy and grimdark. Most of my games go gonzo, so I decided to go with the flow. You know what? I highly recommend you go check out OGGM's games. He is one of my favorite GMs because he is so funny. Sometimes games go sideways. Uh, I think we had a total party kill a while back, but he is really funny and very family friendly. Even though sometimes we are not so family friendly, but it's RPG Grandma, me, and Mike and Jen from Married with Gaming. It's mostly Californians, but or it's all Californians. But it's a lot of fun. GI Joe, He Man, Thundar, freaking. Hmm. Is it
you
going
know
to
what
survive
they've
anywhere we
got.
can watch? Cake or Death? And RPG says, I'm thinking of running a hex crawl co-op with daughter. I might start off with white box just to keep it simple. Okay, that's fair. As far as Savage Swords, I'd love to crack out my swashbuckler again, but I'm in Bears every second Friday. Yeah, I know. I figured that was going to be the case, and I was so bummed that he didn't run that game last night. I was uh, absolutely just waiting to go watch that because I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. Uh, maybe if I'm really lucky, he'll let me and play like a cameo character like Kane or something like that. I'll even break out the eye patch and my Battlestar Galactica flight jacket and really ham it up for a couple of episodes and then go off into space and get killed or something. Uh, I
See,
think
that's actually kind of fun sometimes if you know you're not going to be there. It's like,
oh yeah,
hand me the expendable character. You know,
and to
Here's
be
a red shirt. Where's this red shirt?
hey, that red shirt only applied to like the second half of season 2. Before then, they didn't die as often as the other colors.
And I was thinking about it when I was watching Galactica. I didn't watch the '80s stuff. I'm probably going to buy it, but I'm not going to watch it except the Starbuck episode for obvious reasons. But I was like watching Galactica, and I'm like, you know what? I know Starbuck is like kind of like my favorite character, but when I got to the Kane episodes, I'm like, nope, it's Kane, hands down, Kane, coolest character in the whole show. Come at me, prove me wrong. I thought
Can't
uh,
I play Baltar? I want to make sure that
he was a lot of fun too. I had forgotten how weaselly and slimy and terrifying he was. In that show, he was actually kind of scary till the end. He was like, whoa, this guy is just a next level kind of monstrous evil. Um,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna do if you're gonna have your cameo character, sometimes can I play the villain? I know I'm gonna die anyway, but I can just ham it up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So this is what I'm working on right now. My Oni
Oh, that
Warlord.
Efreet is awesome.
It's an Oni Warlord, but okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And he's got this kick ass. Check out this cage. It's got like
Oh, cool.
6 different people or more trapped in it. And in the game rules, every turn he can just scoop you up and throw you in the cage and still beat on you with this whatever
So
this
which
beat.
game is it?
Shadows of Brimstone.
Oh, okay, okay. That's a
I'm
big
telling.
model.
I got it for myself for Christmas on Amazon because I wanted to have something to clip and fiddle with on the day. So I was going to be here by myself. Even though I knew all my packages that came in that week, I just stacked them under the tree. Like I'll open them on Christmas morning. We did Christmas for the family when they got home, which was really nice. But I was like, otherwise I'm just going to sleep all day until dinner, and so I started putting it together, and I was thinking about Shadows of Brimstone because it's basically a co-op board game of Wild West characters that go into caves and find portals to other worlds, and there's just like a massive amount of expansions and other worlds you can go into. But there's a lot of people out there I know who would actually really dig this game, and I've got a second copy somewhere. So don't be surprised if it shows up as one of the gifts, giveaway gifts for our 1,000 sub giveaway in February. Because I'm never going to need it or use it, and you know it's such a fun game. It was the gateway game for Jackie and I to start playing, role playing board games together. And oh my god, we had so much fun with that. He was like 10, 12 years old, and it'd be midnight, and his mom would be pulling her hair out because we're still up playing. Midnight around, he's like, "Dad, I want to go to bed now." I'm like, "It's cool, Jack. You go to bed. I'll clean up." 2 o'clock in the morning rolls around. I'm finally done packing up the game and crashing out. And the wife's like, "You bastard, keeping our boy up that late on a Friday, Saturday night." I'm like,
It's a
"You're
Friday and
welcome."
Saturday night. Yeah.
I know, right? But it's so much fun. It's very simple. I mean, it did take me a little while to understand one rule that I really like. I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was going over and over. I literally like one of the most like hard for me to just grasp rules in like a long time. Once I got it, I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm an idiot." Of course, it's just that simple, and it's got great minis and great tile boards to play on, and great
Damn it.
rules. Just a lot of freaking fun. I mean, it's basically Deadlands, but with portals to other worlds. There's this dark stone material that they discover that's useful for powering magical and quasi technological gadgets, and there's all kinds of
Sounds like a
cool.
Western wartime.
It kind of because there is even like this mechanic where you after the dungeon, so to speak, you roll a random encounter on the way back to town, which can mess you up. Then you get back to town, and even the town can mess you up if you're not careful. If you stay there too long, the chances of people noticing that you just came out of a dungeon, flush with gold and dark stone, and it was just so much fun. And uh, I was actually thinking, I started playing Shadows of Brimstone solo. I got the whole Viking and Swamps Kickstarter a couple of years ago, but I never even touched. And I'm like, I mean, I painted all the minis. Like maybe I could get away with playing it solo during the afternoons when nobody's here, because Grandma's now in Mexico for a couple months. I got the whole house to myself during the mornings and afternoons, Monday through Friday. So I might just have to break that out and play some Shadows of Brimstone.
Nice.
And the new Kickstarter will be here in 4 to 6 months/years, and it's
Right.
all either the Ghost Train, because each Kickstarter is like 2 environments. The Ghost Train, which is a cardboard puzzle piece connectable template floor tile that you can play all kinds of missions on the train with banditos attacking, or you flip that over and then there's ghostly versions of the Hell Train. And then the other expansion, or the other half of that Kickstarter, is ancient Egyptian mythos stuff and Atlantis. I'm like, how cool would it be to get your 1920s or Western characters, going to Egypt, looking for dark stone, finding portals to freaking Atlantis. Oh my god. Oh.
I'd be like what's it called that League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of thing.
Yes, very much that, and the Mummy, and maybe even I want to say Hellboy, but I don't know because I never watched it or read it. But it's definitely got that 1920s pulpy kind of feel to it. And oh my god, I can't wait because every time I get one of those Kickstarters, it's a box about you know two and a half 3 feet by a couple of feet by a couple of feet, just jam packed with stuff. It's like half a cubic meter, I want to say, with just great freaking gigantic freaking miniatures. This one's not even in the top 10 largest figures from that game.
That's
Um,
wild.
these monsters will like the AI mechanics for the game. The monsters will do all kinds of crazy things. One of the worst things is they randomly attack one of their opponents. That's us, the players, each turn. So any kind of strategy you're trying to protect so and so doesn't matter. Reach over your heads and just wallop you. The worst character, to be wounded could randomly get hit, regardless of your formation, and then all kinds of crazy abilities. And like this one, he just scoops you up and throws you in the cage, and you can't do anything. Um, GM Cody, did you watch Stranger Things? Because I did, and I really liked it. I know there's some huge
Um,
issues, but when all was said and done, the last 40 minutes were awesome.
it's over. That's over. They
Yep,
finished it.
totally. Although not even 24 hours later, I'm seeing all these AI channels talking about the spin-off, and I'm like, I don't care. There's like there's
Yeah,
enough.
it's the spinoff where Will and Mike get married and move to Fire Island.
No, there was none of that whatsoever. Pope Alley, I did look into that game. Uh, I could see. I was thinking Tune as well. I've got. No, I don't have a copy of that. Someone promised to send me a copy of that, and I don't remember who they were. I only played it once. My friend actually bought it and gave it to me after we played it. It was like, yeah, this is kind of goofy. Here, you can have it. And I don't know whatever happened to it. I probably sold it on eBay. But yeah, anything pulp, the Shadow, Doc Savage, the Phantom.
The Shadow is now in public domain.
I know. It's so awesome. Oh my god, the stuff I could do with that. And I was actually looking at some other public domain like superheroes of that era. Like the Spider, and there's this great game you probably never heard of it called Top Secret. Um, because nobody friggin' wants to play it except like the weirdest
it's
of videos.
The game is just not very good. I love the idea of a spy game. It's just the mechanics are just.
No. You're thinking Top Secret First Edition.
I
Second
am thinking Top
edition,
Secret First Edition.
yeah, the second edition was literally one of the best games ever made back in its day, and even to this day, I can easily see running it. And like, if you want to play a pulp game, you want to play a modern game, you want to play a post-apocalyptic superhero dystopian game, they got you covered. You want to play World War II. There's so much stuff for it, and everybody just like, huh? I didn't know that game existed, and it was freaking awesome.
I remember Top Secret. My problem was that it seemed kind of a one-trick pony.
The original Top Secret sucked. I played it, I liked it, but I hated the mechanics. It was awful. That rule where if two people come at each other with the wrong or right martial arts, they can't fight each other. What are you freaking insane? That's not how life works.
I don't remember. It was. I can't remember when I think I got Top Secret in '82, whatever version.
Is it the one with? Well, I got it right here. Because of course I do.
Had like a gun and a passport on or passports and money on the cover.
Well, all I remember from the rules is that you had the option of selecting one quirk in one.
Okay, that's actually.
I don't think it was.
You're actually talking second edition. This is first edition.
Okay.
The version that sucked.
Yeah.
Now I'll pull out the other.
No, that wasn't the one.
Because I can, and it's right here, and I love it that much. I mean, with all the stuff that I could keep up here, which is very limited. This was second edition, and Bo,
Yeah, that's the one I remember. And what year was that
uh,
produced? Should have a copyright on it.
it should, but I can't see it. Uh,
You might have to open it up to look at one of the books in there.
yeah,
But
let me do that. Bo, I am gonna send you the extra copy I have of the Administrator's Guide, uh, because it is literally the best DMG ever. 1987.
well, I'm waiting for my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to
Yeah,
arrive next week.
who's I
So
talking about with that the other day? It was just yesterday we were talking about that game. Um,
I don't.
James?
I well, I mean, I ordered it, and I ordered all the
oh, it was
different copies, and I owe my friend
no, it wasn't Bloodward.
the mutagenic foil cover. So, did you figure out what year Top Secret was released for second edition? Or do I just need to go look
Thanks,
up on my
Cody.
phone?
Okay, Cake or Death, do you have a channel? Because if so, I'm going to subscribe right after this broadcast because that just sounds freaking gonzo as hell. Thanks, Squirrel. Thanks, Mini Warmud. And mind you, all I've done is speed paints. That's all that is speed paints and a little bit of dry brushing. And I got a lot. I'll be working on this till the end of the month because whenever I get like a really big mini like this, I just
Where's my?
Oh wow, it came out with it fast. So first edition was 1980, and second edition was 1981.
Right.
So yeah, I had the second edition, which is I thought that was the idea because I like the idea of the quirks and the
and the
abilities.
drawbacks or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the first edition assumed you could get a spy mission done with $200, which was retarded. It's like what third world country do I actually work for? It was just really really dumb. Especially since at that particular time I worked at my dad's gun shop. Okay, so I knew the prices of all kinds of crazy stuff, even though I was only 14. And I'm like, have these guys ever like like no, they obviously haven't, and they were just making crap up because they had the level thing, so they had to kind of start you out as like someone who shouldn't even be associated with a government agency. But
To be fair, I don't remember how much the money was. I just remember going because most of the time I would just go
that's first
like
edition.
real world.
But in
you
SI,
could actually find it.
But
You
in
could find
SI,
prices. Yeah.
you actually had one of the perks was you could, and you actually had X number of points of perks, and you could buy wealthy. So like you could
Yep.
take your 3 perks and be like freaking just like a millionaire. Okay, right off the bat, I'm a millionaire, so I have all the gear I need. But that don't matter. You still got to make the rolls and do the things and come up with the plans and get in, get out, and do all the cool stuff. Because they, apparently they, had watched or done some other things to kind of,
But no, I mean, for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I ordered it, and it took forever, and they, of course, were late. Everyone complains about how late it is. I'm like, look, if it's a Kickstarter, I know how things work. I'm just going to wait until it comes. But yeah, I got 2 of the books for my friend for the foil covers. That's like, here you go, man. So that worked out pretty well. And my son always likes the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so he was big into that. And I met Kevin Eastman. He's nice. So maybe if he comes back again, I'll have him sign him.
Nice. Yeah, well, I will subscribe after the show, Kick or Death. I just can't right now, or I'll lose the broadcast.
We have the Comic-Con here during I forgot what, it's usually around July or August, and he sometimes comes.
What's up, Jason? Long time no see, man.
So we'll see if they did it. I thought that they redid a lot of this stuff, which was, to me, they reformatted it and things like that. So we'll see how it goes.
RPG Dad, that's exactly what I was saying last night. Maybe it was Bear's channel. I don't remember. But I really think that you'd be lying if you said that the first season of Stranger Things had no effect on the D&D community and bringing people in. I think the last season's going to do the same thing, maybe even more so. I hope so. To the point that I actually literally am considering buying the Stranger Things box set, just because at the end of the episode, not really a spoiler, during the credits scene, they're showing hand drawn images that look like they're right out of the player's handbook or the monster manual of the characters that look really good. Like they got someone good, maybe an AI, I don't know, but it looks like black and white line art pictures of all the characters throughout the years. And if that's a real thing that I can actually buy, to have on my shelf, I'm going to do it.
You know, I Hasbro, and it's Hasbro. It's not. You can't say it's Wizards of the Coast because it's not. There is no such thing as Wizards of the Coast, really. Wizards of the Coast hasn't been a thing since Hasbro bought them, and
It's a subsidiary, just like
Nice,
Paramount
Cal.
is a
right. But what I mean
corporate.
is, it's Hasbro that's pulling the strings,
Yeah, it's
but
corporate.
what I mean is, I don't think that you could make. I don't think that you could make a Dungeons and Dragons that a real brand, quote unquote, that would appeal to everyone at this point, because we're talking about a cross generational experiences. And I think that any modern D&D, any D&D that's going to appeal to this generation has to appeal to their Appendix N. And their Appendix N is not your Appendix N.
Nope.
And so, you can't, when they play Dungeons and Dragons, it's got to be, Naruto and Dragon Ball Z, or, One
It's
Piece
Harry
or whatever.
Potter is what fifth
Last
edition.
Airbender.
Yeah. Exactly. And so, I don't think that any one of us, and it's fine. It's, don't be old man that yells at cloud. Because, when you to sit down and play Dungeons and Dragons with them, with anybody under the age of 40, or maybe even older at this point, 45, they're not going to have that Stranger Thing experience because they didn't have those. Those were Gen X kids. I mean, the characters, not the actors, obviously. So any new D&D, even if it's D&D mechanically, it's not going to have the same influence because kids, they don't get it. So I don't think I could sit down and play D&D because again, it's a language barrier. We don't speak the same language.
I'm going to be different than you are, Bo, because I have my son, and he plays 5th edition, and then he also is willing to play Dungeon Crawl Classics. I really just think that, I don't want to say this, what I've noticed is that kids are starved, at least kids like around where I am, are starved for human interaction. And it's a goal, and role-playing games are fantastic for human interactions.
The gist of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to say hi to everybody?
Sure.
But
I was planning on when people showed up to be in the benefactor costume.
Okay.
So that's the thing I'm doing. I don't know if that counts as whatever that was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mostly, well, I know there were a couple people, at least one that I hopefully imagine would be scared by it.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Come say hi so everybody knows.
Didn't you just?
We all know Jackson.
yeah,
Yeah, James says howdy as well. George and Omen is
I am aware.
the pulsing
I am
lumps. And there's Bo.
Hello?
You want the link? You want to join?
No, I'm busy.
He's busy getting ready for his D&D game tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I
Should we finish this?
like most things is, and who knows what in the world it was for games, but I don't think that
On the paint stand are the 2 eyeballs that I painted for you.
I think that kids are just starved for the whole interaction altogether. And my friends, and I think a lot of people getting burned out of 5th edition
I'll do that
Dungeons
stuff
and Dragons.
later. Gosh.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or it's become too formulaic. It's like every 5e game that I play,
Yes, they are.
it kind of becomes this like intermediate fight, boss fight. You know, have your short rest, you have your long rest.
Well, and what I'm going to say is it really takes a toll on the dungeon master to challenge them, and then
Yeah.
that's what I've really noticed. My
Thanks,
friend's
James.
doing it. He's been playing. Playing it for. He's been playing his current campaign for 3 years, and he's like, okay, next game I'm going to do critical hits. I'm going to do this. You know what I mean by critical hits is like actual like, hey, you're going to take, you're going to lose like fingers and limbs. It's going to be much more of an old, more of an old school feel for the deadliness.
What's up, Lib? That's what I'm calling you because
Yeah.
I'm going
I-
to butcher your name otherwise.
Yeah, I had like a level 4 cleric. My armor class was like 24.
Thanks,
My
Minnie. I will tell him
DM was just trying to get me.
that you approve of his mustache. He's a little. I mean, he's 17 now. He's going to be 18 in 5 months. So but he is so like into getting ready to run this game and like overthinking and stressing. So I'm going to be like,
Well, see, and I know, talk about coming back. Well, it just depends on how I feel in the morning. If I don't feel like playing in the morning, and so that's what it really comes down to.
thanks,
But
Paul. That's pretty funny.
but no, I've done but I do like having the cleric. I know that Bo was talking about the cleric, but I'll tell you this much: in BX, a cleric is kick ass.
Right, but I don't really care. I'm not talking so much about the mechanics.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the role playing and the expectations of the other players. And and that's what
you as a player set the expectation for the other players, and you say, "Hey, look, I got 1 cure light wounds, and it's not going to be used to just heal you. It's going to be used if you get paralyzed. If you get and to be honest, that's like second level. It's like the worst spell to get. Cure light wounds cures paralysis in BX.
Okay.
So it's a better
riddle me this then. Riddle me this because I was talking to Tenkar about it today. Your party, you got a four-man party, one of each of the 4 food groups, right? Everybody takes 4 hit points in the first room, and they decide to go back to town.
Why aren't
you only have one kill wound spell? Who are you going to cure?
Yeah, no, you don't even have that. You're first level.
Well, here's
my first level, you don't have it.
Why aren't you bringing in your 4 to 8 henchmen with you?
Because we didn't have enough money to afford it after we bought the basic gear because we rolled crappy on our die rolls for starting gear.
Then a lot of it is then how about trying to talk to the monsters first and trying to avoid.
That's right. That's right. You roll on the reaction table. There's that 2d6 reaction table. They don't necessarily fight. You've got a pretty good chance they want to parlay. There's a chance they'll run away. You take your roll on the reaction table.
Let's assume that's a 50-50 chance, and they parlay in the first room, but in the second room, it's just a good old-fashioned combat, and it's only half a dozen goblins, but the party's now at half hit points. And they go, okay, we're going back home.
Then you go home. There's a certain point where we have never had a problem of hiring characters. The whole point is that you can generally get hirelings for about 3 to 6 gold pieces each, and it is better to get hirelings than it is to get equipment in a lot of cases.
Get dogs. War dogs.
I totally agree, but I was also talking about this with Bloodworth. I've been in many games where the DM said no hirelings. Period.
Then they aren't playing D&D.
That's a bad DM. Well, Tenkar talked about it too. That's just a bad DM.
This was AD&D, and back in the day, a lot of DMs were like, "This makes it too easy, and I'm not running 17 NPCs for you to walk into the game with."
So I will say this much: when I was playing the OSC game, they gave us an option of hirelings, and we hired almost all of them. And so we would have like a group of 4 laborers, one that would carry like a torch. We would generally have like 2 archers and then like 2 footmen, and that was on top of the rest of us.
I mean, I love that idea. The more the merrier. If you wanted to literally bring in 25 henchmen or hirelings or whatever you call them, depending on the game, not a freaking problem. I don't care because it's not my job to care. It's my job to facilitate and DM, not to care. Okay,
but
I mean,
but that's what I mean is
You,
that
you were in my first level AD&D game. You guys had literally like hundreds of NPCs.
well, here's the thing
So,
is, and like I said, AD&D is the easy mode. BX is the harder mode. Oddly enough, it sounds funny, but it's true.
yes and no.
It is true. It's true for the. It's because, well, it's just the nature of the beast. AD&D was made for tournament play, so AD&D is much more regimented, and it's got, it answers the questions. BX doesn't answer the questions. BX makes you answer the questions, and my answer to the questions are different than your answers to the questions. It's
Well, no, no,
not.
well,
It's
no.
not standardized.
Well, no. This is the difference: is your hit points are lower. Your
Mhm.
armor classes you generally can't get
But
as far down.
okay,
Your
I know the hit points are lower, but isn't the damage also lower?
um, it can be. You
It
don't.
can
Well,
be. Yeah.
but here's what I'm trying to say is when you start looking at it, your stats have a lot more impact on the game.
That
In
sounds awesome.
AD&D. So when you have 18, you're getting more bonuses than you would as 18 in BX. You're
That
getting
is
more.
true.
That's it's you're not having the same swinginess. That's what I'm referring to is when you start looking at it, you don't generally the recommended if you look at what Gygax says in the how to roll up your stats, they want higher stats than they do from BX. So BX will generally have a much lower. Um, at the end of the day, let's be honest. This is why a lot of us became forever DMs. We didn't like the way the DM was running a game, and
Yeah.
then you don't like it, you became the DM. And I will say as much: the spells in BX tend to be more powerful. Like protection from evil lasts, it's like 120 minutes rather than like 5 minutes,
Yeah, yeah.
which pisses me off. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, I'm lucky if I get to play 3 hour games online because that's just the way that environment is. Um, my Sunday game can sometimes run a little longer. My Friday game can definitely run longer, but all the games that I'm in as a player, they're 2 or 3 hour sessions. So none of that crap. There is no none of that. Sometimes we'll get through a couple of 3 or 4 combats. But for the most part, yeah, the stuff you described, if that was it, I'd be out in the middle of that game. Um, but
Hey,
when it comes to hirelings and whatnot, or even just the not having because my solution was different than NPC henchmen and flunkies and stuff. Back in Dragon Magazine, there was this thing called the healer. It was an NPC or player character, I forget. Someone who was a dedicated freaking healer, not the cleric, but a healer. Like a surgeon kind of thing, to where you could, explain away some of the hit point regeneration, so that your game wasn't first encounter we go back town, heal up, first encounter go back town, because that's literally I don't care what character I'm running. As soon as I'm at half hit points, I'm going back. I'm done. Sorry. There's not even a chance I'm going to make it back to town in my mind with like 4 hit points, because one random encounter I'm running and then I'm dead, because
Ah,
that's outdoor encounters are that way, and that's just the way I play. If there's no healer, then the only way I can heal is by resting several weeks. I'm going back to town. I'm not running
it's
into the
what
mission with 2 or 3 hit
so
points.
so here's what you're looking at. To be fair on this, is generally in there, and 1 or 2 hits from a lot of weapons can take you down and kill you, which is
Yep.
why you
yep.
get all of the hirelings, and the hirelings are the ones that really make the difference. Because if you're really looking at it, you should have a first rank, which is
But
going to
here's the
be
thing, Owen.
yeah.
We could still have 20 hirelings. If I'm at half my hit points and there's no chance of healing, I'm going back. I don't care.
Well,
Well,
and
here,
also you should also never again the thing about D&D and especially BX, but AD&D too. You shouldn't if you're in a fair fight, you already lost, right? You should
Mhm.
be you should be ambushing. You should be avoiding fights. You
Mhm.
should be fleeing from fights. Run away. You should never get in
That's
a
right,
fair
Owen.
fight in D&D
I'm going to bring up
because you
one
don't
other.
you don't grind. And D&D is not a grinding game. 5e is a grinding game, but
Mhm.
AD&D and Basic Expert are not
No,
grinding
no,
games.
they really shouldn't be. But I don't know about you, but I've been wounded before and I've been injured before, etc. And it really doesn't take much to make because there's no effects from taking hit point damage. Usually, you can't tell that. Well, you got a
Yeah,
broken arm. or whatever.
Right.
I've had freaking injuries to my hand, just my freaking hand, and I'm like, I am now useless in a fight.
So
Okay.
I'm going to bring up one other thing
Um,
that you're forgetting about. It's not that you have to go back, but you get rotated out of the front line. To be fair on that.
I have been in too many situations where it didn't matter how many henchmen there or hirelings or whatever there were, when random die rolls came up for who's getting hit, it was always the player characters. Period. It was never those guys.
Well,
Was it-
that's also why you're expected to die. It's D&D. You're supposed to die. Roll up a new character.
Yeah,
It-
I know.
One thing
yeah.
is this whole like kind of verisimilitude of kind of a reality of like, you get hurt, you're gonna go back home or to a hospital or someplace.
Mhm.
But I kind of like games to be more like a movie. Like, Bilbo didn't just go back home when he got hurt or something, and then kept going on and back and forth and back and forth. They just
So,
kept moving along, and I think there's certain ways you could do it. I mean, like you're saying, like a healer class. I think there's there are some like survival class type characters like the
Mhm.
rangers and things like that. I think the friar, there's like a friar class in that what's those guys I watched 3D6 down the line. They were playing Dolmenwood.
Okay.
That's a new one.
Yeah. So this is what you should be looking at. Your first 3 in a rank, if you're assuming 10 foot wide, those are going to be yours that are going to be up front with the shield, and they should be having a shield. They're going to be having heavy armor, and then behind them, you should be guys having pole arms. And then after pole arms, you should be having guys with the range weapons, and then after that, you should generally be having the guys with your magic. That's
you were doing the Kilroy thing there, man.
Yeah, but that's and when you look at it, is who are they going to be shooting at? It's not if you're assuming, and to be fair, if the DM is rolling up front, hey, guess what? It's going to be a roll of like 1 to 12 or something like that.
Sure.
It's like so.
There is that, but there is the idea that the GM can. Oops, sorry, James, come on back as soon as you want. The GM can go. No, they're all targeting the wizards and the clerics because they know better.
Then that's a possibility.
That it's a possibility if they can be seen. And if you want to say that they have cover, which to me is what should be happening with the magic user, it's like, yeah, you can hit them, but guess what? They have cover. So now their armor class is fairly low. And
right, and then the GM pulls up his big old sack of 20-sided dice and rolls 15 of them.
Well, I mean, anything can happen.
Arrows. If they're 15 arrows, that's a whole other issue.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you're talking about a vampire riding on a unicorn or a vampire riding on a dragon. I'm not fighting unicorns or vampires riding on dragons. We're in the absolute worst case scenario. There can be a total party kill, but in the worst case scenario, then the cleric uses his cure light wound spell on you.
Or on himself.
No matter what you do, Shadow, in a low level game, where the cleric has maybe one cure light wound spell, maybe no cure light wound spells.
Let me ask you this: in BX, did the cleric get bonus spells for high wisdom?
No.
Oh,
okay.
That's why I said BX is the hard mode for a lot of this. But
that sounds kind of sucky to me.
Well, you're not really intended to be casting that many spells as part of it. You're supposed to be casting, like you saw when we played the game. I did protection from evil. They could not hurt us because I stood in front of a doorway and I did not attack, and it couldn't attack the rest of the party as they shot it. The other one is when you get to second level, you get bless. And bless is one of those that gives you bonuses to your morale, and like Tinkar was talking about, morale is really what happens in most of the things.
That's right.
Like
a real battle.
Yeah, it's things don't fight to the death.
No worries, James. We'll talk when the show's over.
Yeah, they get you get the first. You do. I think, and I have to relook at the rules, but it's like the first death on one side they have to roll morale, and so. If they don't, and like goblins have like 7 morale or something, so it's not that great. And then they get and you can, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there, and it lasts a while. But your odds of dying are not that high as long as your magic user stays somewhat hidden in the back. If he's not trying to cast spells, they're not. And you know, even then, at low level, if you're fighting a low level monster, most of them are not having too many ranged attacks. You know, even an ogre, which don't get me wrong, an ogre will kill a character one blow at a time pretty easily.
Oh yeah. Well,
But yeah.
that's why I was talking about the healer, or in AD&D, if you use the good old fashioned proficiency rules, you had that healing proficiency where it was binding wounds. Even in Castles and Crusades, just applying a
Yeah.
bandage would heal 1 to 2 points. It's not a lot, but it's enough to keep the game going, instead of it just being like, okay, the first sign of wounding, we are going back, and the game proceeds at a snail's pace, because the players are playing smart, and they're not going to be foolish enough to get suckered into running into a deep dark dungeon at first level. They'll just bump into some wandering monsters on the way to the dungeon, and after like 17 trips to the dungeon, they finally get into the third room.
Well, that's even
well,
that's a great thing about D&D anyway, and both AD&D and AD&D and BX for that matter. A lot of times there's no challenge ratings. You could, if you're playing a module, you could run into a monster that would easily wipe the whole party.
Yes, and that was one of the cool things I liked about AD&D. In the wilderness, there was no like level challenge rating or anything like that. But once you went in the dungeon, it was kind of the way it was, that you weren't going to walk into Tomb of Horrors at first level. You'd be walking into what was a quote unquote first level adventure dungeon, and after that didn't guarantee you were going to run the place like you owned it, but it was kind of fair-ish,
that,
versus like literally walking into the Tomb of Horrors at first level. Within 10 feet into that place, you're all dead. um why
well,
why
Tomb
do
of
we,
Horrors has
why
always
do we
been
show up at
rated
your house
as
for this? What?
well. Part of it really comes down to this is where it gets really slow, and getting past first level is the hardest level of any of it. I will say this much: it does teach players on how to play smart. It does
Mhm.
not. If you want to go in there as Billy Badass, swinging your sword, taking everything out left and right, you're going to die. Well, a new character. You do it the second
Yeah.
time, get a new character. By the time you're about the fifth or sixth character, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But
Right, but let me ask you this, on the converse of that. Say you and your buds, you show up, you all roll up first level characters Saturday morning. Uh, Within an hour and a half into the game, everybody's dead. You roll up new characters, another hour and a half, everybody's dead. How many times you gonna be like down with that before you're like, yeah, this is kind of a waste of my time?
it depends on what you're fighting. It depends on what you're doing. But a lot of it also comes down to if you it depends on how you're looking at it too. If you're emotionally invested in your character, then absolutely that's a problem. But this is why you get your henchmen, and this is why I this is and I'll admit this: when I was a kid, we didn't use henchmen. We did lots of like. How many times do you get 18s for your character? Oh, look, I've got like 3 18s for my character, and we
Right.
saw plenty of that. We did AD&D
Absolutely.
for a lot of,
Absolutely.
and my point being is going back and replaying this with like Yale Geek and several others, you start realizing that, hey, plate mail is
Yes,
not that
they did.
expensive. A lot of it is what we started doing is our our first few characters. I think one guy lost 3 characters within the first 5 minutes. You do it
Yeah,
kind of like
I
basic.
was literally in a game once with complete strangers, and they were all first or second. In that afternoon, I rolled up 5 characters.
Yeah, but I'm saying it happens, and you just have
Mhm.
to laugh it off, and you go, okay. I think the real problem is: are you sitting on the side of the game for half an hour, or are you just like, okay, roll it up, go again? It's
Uh-huh.
the
Oh yeah, and by the
it's yeah.
second death, we were playing AD&D. By the second death, the next 4 characters were all clerics, because there was no way to survive this, and I wasn't the only one. People were just freaking dropping like flies. I did not go back to that group. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Can't imagine. But my point is some folks, I hate to say this, but when you're up in your 50s and 60s, even in your 40s, you really don't have time for three deaths in a weekend.
Well, I'm going to bring it a little bit different. And again, this is why you have your henchmen. When you
And,
start having your henchmen, you start noticing that it first off, mortality drops off significantly once you get past first level, and
Yeah,
then by the time you get
absolutely, okay.
by the time you get to third or fourth level, even if you have like 0 level henchmen, you
Mhm.
notice that you're actually fairly survivable because you start playing smart. Now, I'm not saying there aren't TPKs, there are, but you start
Absolutely, there
realizing
should be.
that. But you start realizing that you say, okay, um, the character should be doing the basic stuff. Guess what? You shouldn't be trying to dig out the door. That's what your laborers
Oh
are
no,
for.
not at
And
all. I
and
mean,
then and then
if you have the money, you absolutely should. But my experience has actually been in most of the games that I wanted to play in, henchmen and hirelings and things like that. We're not doing it. We
well,
don't
and
want
you
it.
know what?
Even the players would say we're not doing it because we can't trust them. They'll stab us in the back when we're at our worst. They'll take our shit, or they're going to want fair shares. And
Well,
all of those
the,
arguments are incredibly actually valid because you can't trust them, especially when you find like a crap ton of treasure, and they're all looking. Oh, we only get one gold each. Bullshit.
well, most of them, and I don't have any problems with this. Guess what? You get a half share. Hey, fine, or you get a certain amount. And at the end of the day, um, it's probably worth it because we're saying like, okay, but then you have to pay us back for all the equipment you gave to you as well.
Yeah, they'll
So
they'll just say the contract was this, but now we're changing the contract. Hasn't
no, if you're the again, it's a matter of relying on the dice. If you're a good DM, you should you're going to rely on those morale checks and those loyalty checks. And if your player has got good charisma,
thanks, Cody.
the charisma is not their dump stat, so that
it,
those players, so those NPCs are bound by the PC's charisma score, and you're playing a fair game, then those henchmen aren't going to stab you in the back.
Yep.
that's part of it is when you start looking at it is your bigger issue really is that they get a decent enough money that they retire. Now you have to go find new henchmen or whatever. That's what I'm more worried about, which sounds funny. But the other one that comes into it is we haven't really had that problem. It's like, well, guess what? You're going to do this. Well, let's go hire more. And if they get a half share, who cares? Now, guess what? They're leveling with you. They're just going to be like one behind. And really, half share is pretty standard for that.
Mhm.
Those,
But I've also,
but you're
but
right. If they're going to backstab you, here's the problem: they can't carry it all back. So
Do you
carrying
mean
all
to
that
say that
gold.
your rule system? Are you saying that your rule book doesn't have a hireling accreditation system? Like, what the hell?
Well,
Like
it
a-
does. That's what
like
the
a credit
charisma's
score for hirelings.
Well,
Yeah, like a
that's
hireling,
the other part.
like a hireling union. You're saying you went to a non-union hireling, and you expected a good result.
No. Yeah, well, that's true. Well, we tried hiring union hirelings anyway because we wanted I'm sorry, guild hirelings because we wanted more from the guild. It's like, look,
I
we
just go
need.
down to Home Depot, and there's hirelings out the front.
Well,
I
no.
could see a whole
Those
campaign
things
just
were.
being surrounded
They,
about
they
like getting hirelings and different hirelings groups, factions, and stuff. And
no, I could literally see how
yeah,
your charisma is not going to stop. Like you've got 20 henchmen, hirelings, whatever you want to call them. Let's call them hirelings because henchmen would be actually attached to an individual, like they're
yeah, yeah.
they're buddies. Um, Thanks. Yes, it's actually been pretty high this evening, Cake. But there's freaking 8,000 gold pieces you guys just found in gems and jewelry, and the player characters themselves are pretty beat up. So are the NPCs, but the NPCs are like, you know what? That's just too much money to not try and take.
Well, they're going to get a share anyway. They get a half share. This isn't any
Right.
different than pirates. But here, let's be honest. If you're treating your hirelings badly that they want to stab you in the back, you've got other issues.
Well, it doesn't have to be treating them badly, just that they've taken some casualties. They weren't the first to be healed. Just a couple of things that, wrong tactical decisions instead of, absolutely nursemating and babying your NPCs so that they don't betray you. Plus, I had a guy in one of my last games literally say, I don't want any NPCs ever because I don't want to share the treasure with them at all. Not even.
Well, you know
Oh,
what?
then that guy dies. Then not a big deal.
Can you raise that up a little, James?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay,
Oh,
nice.
that's that slinger.
Nice. You
The
don't see
slinger?
Cool.
Yeah,
But-
an Irish singer from the War Games Atlantic kit.
but you don't
I
see a
love
lot.
those.
There should be more how you call them? Bariatric slingers. Because slingers are the most underrated troops for ranged weapons. And then after watching more stuff on YouTube and hearing historical accounts, you're like, no, slingers are pretty bad.
Yeah, David and
um,
Goliath.
If you train them, like if you have highly trained ones, yeah, definitely with like proper cast lead shot, like
Yeah.
absolutely. Otherwise they're just filler, But like if you have really trained ones, like the Spanish ones or the Greek ones, definitely.
Well, I saw even for the Romans. Now I used to read it in the writings were that they talked that they loved the slingers because it actually destroyed morale more than arrows. But anyway, but that's the point is if the players are being like that, guess what? They keep dying. They're like, why do we keep dying? It's like because you don't hire any hirelings. And let's be honest, when we're talking about the paladin, the classical paladin AD&D, when you start adding up all of those bonuses to morale, I mean, they're fanatical for that guy.
Yeah.
And-
But barring having a paladin in the party, the average parties I've encountered, lately, if not always, charisma is a dump stat, or even if they've got happen to have a druid with a 15 or something like that, enough rolls on the loyalty, eventually going to roll like snake eyes or whatever that equivalent is, and it's just going to be a matter of when, not if, they betray you. And
what's betrayal in
on,
this case?
I could see why players would be like, "Yeah, we're not doing it."
Yeah, but what is betrayal in this case? Most times, the betrayal is that they take some money and run away. That's really what, in most cases, it is. And then
Or they wait until you're asleep and you don't wake up.
Why? Yeah, but then they have to deal with all the other people that will kill them. There's a reason that you just don't do it. It's not like now if you're a really bad commander, which is what happened to pirates too.
Right. I was just thinking that. Think of all the instances of pirates and mutiny and that sort of thing. It's the same kind of odds.
Why did they mutiny? Why did they mutiny?
Because they wanted one of their members said, "Hey, I can do this better, and I'd make a better captain." And eventually, being the low guy amongst the low guys, could actually rally some people together, and that's all it was. All it would take. Here's the real reason when it happened is you're right. It rallied them whenever the commander was bad, treated them poorly, and they suffered like a lot of casualties and stupidity. Because people are not going to just switch horses when they're like, we're already making good money. How are you going to do any better? People don't leave when things are going well. They leave when things are going badly, which is
Plus,
why you
pirate ships were like militia companies. The commander was elected.
Yep.
And so you just vote for a different captain if you don't like the way the captain's running things.
And if we're talking D&D, why they're not going to stab you when they're in the dungeon. What they may do is they may rob you later on. But it's like, well, okay, but
it sounds to me like the Shadow is almost being contrary just to be contrary. He just doesn't want to play Dungeons and Dragons.
I've played so many games and I've come across so many issues over the years.
Shadow's right is all too often you get the killer DM instead of letting the roles roll where they may, they're like, no, I want to do this. And I'm not saying that you don't get an infiltrator every so often. That does happen. But, it's the same thing that DMs do all the time. It's like, oh, you have a wife. We're going to make sure she's captured. So it always becomes like the normal trope, like Mary Jane.
Yeah, the Edgar Rice Burroughs trope of no matter who it is, they can't get killed, so they get kidnapped. And mind you, most of the games I've played in the last 5 years are not like that, except with the refusal to let us hire henchmen and hirelings. Because in a 2 hour game, you don't really have the opportunity. It's not you don't have the opportunity. There's so much emphasis on let's hurry up and get into the action and not worry about that. You guys do it. You get all the things. What's up, Holy Diver?
I remember one GM, he had this idea of got the drop on the mechanic where if there's a surprise and it's overwhelming force, there's no fight, you guys are captured. And then you kind of go to and then you kind of have that whole jailbreak kind of scenario, which could be interesting characters.
There's another thing that people forget about, and the DM doesn't have to say it, but technically you can do subdual damage. So if the DM wants it not to do a total party kill, he can subdue the entire party. Because I've never known any player character.
Right, but then we get into the issue of and I've seen this happen where players would be like, we fight to the death because we're not being taken prisoner. We're not going to surrender.
That's my point, is players don't do it, but if there's subdual damage, guess what? They get knocked out once they hit 0 hit points. Then they wake up captured. That's my point. Guess what? Instead of me killing you, now guess what? Now you're in the cages of the orcs, and they're going to be eating you in probably the next couple of days, unless you're an elf where they automatically kill you. So it's
AD&D, Paladins, Cleric, Thief are absolutely yeah.
You don't have to take Paladins at all. The Cleric and the Thief is all you need for D&D.
Again, Owen, we're not talking about mechanics. We're talking about role playing.
Oh yeah, but I am saying for role playing, all you need is a cleric and a thief.
That's not role playing. That's mechanics. You want to role play as a magic user, or role play as talking about the flavor of the game versus the mechanics of the dice.
He says absolute takes for a party.
Mechanically, I don't think there's any such thing as an absolute take. I'd run a party with 5 fighters in it.
Right, and then my whole thing is that's why you get the hireling. Says, hey, guess what? We need a magic user. Well, you know what? Bob, the magic user over there, wants a full share. Okay, but we need that magic user. We need that cleric. We need this. And the other part is, if the other thing that people forget about hirelings is you don't have to take them on every adventure. Guess what, Bob? We don't need you now. We'll
call you when we need you.
Yeah, exactly.
What if you limited it to like a squire system where you get like a low level NPC type attached to do dog's body work, but also back you up in the dungeon? You know what I mean? Like, what if you just put limits on how powerful a hireling is? Like, make a distinction between hirelings and adventurers in a way.
So hirelings are generally going to be 0 level. Just we're going to based by rules. Henchmen can be up to 1 level below the player characters. That's what it generally works out as. That's by the rules.
Henchmen are kind of like the Joker's, like number 1 and number 2 guys, or Catwoman's number 1 and 2 guys. They're like friends that have decided to help you with your shenanigans, whatever those shenanigans might be, and they're not just solely based on coin. They actually like you and will back you up, and if your morale and their morale jibe well enough, they'll literally take a bullet for you.
And typically hirelings are non-combatants. Hirelings the guy that watches your horse, cooks your food, holds your torches.
Well, unless they're actually men at arms, which that is a thing.
Yeah, it is. It depends on
you can hire captains on down, to lead your armies.
But I mean, the whole thing that whenever we're talking about this, and I agree with Shadow, is the problem is you have to have a DM that's willing to play the game as it's designed. And if they're trying to go off on the other thing, and if you really read, I know Bo's been going through the Dungeon Master's Guide, and you read the stuff, it's intended that you're supposed to bring hirelings and henchmen. And as much as we talk about this, is let's assume you have a first level magic user. He has like 3 hit points, which is the average. You've got that. And you know what? They're like, well, you're going to die from one arrow shot. That's true, except you have 12 other people around you, and if really 1 in 12, and now even with a bow for a goblin, he needs like a 10 to hit you. Your odds of getting hit are like 1 in 24. So it's kind of, you're kind of safe with that if that's a bow, and if it's a hand to hand, then you're usually safe. And then the other part is this is where the magic user really comes in handy. Great, we're fighting an ogre. What do?
Sleep.
Yeah, it's the
If you
one.
have, but there's only like a if you again going by the rules, there's only like a 1 in 10 chance that you have sleep at first level.
It depends on what. Well, if we're talking BX, which is what I'm trying to talk about for this in this case,
Right?
And you know what? Sleep is one of those spells that you go hunt for, and that's the real treasure for a magic user. Is hey,
Sure.
I want spells. Now, I noticed that if you start reading first edition AD&D, the Dungeon Master's Guide, Gygax intentionally makes it so it's almost impossible for you to get stuff unless you like kind of kill off other magic users.
Cake or death. Cake or
Yeah.
death. If XP for gold is in the rules, I use it.
Yeah, excellent.
If it's in the rules and you take it out of the rules, you're literally denying the player character's XP the way the game was designed, and you might as well just play a game where you just don't get that because it's so baked in to the formula of how many XP you need to go up a level. From first to second, you could literally be telling the player the only way you're going to go up a level as a fighter is if you kill like 200 or 300 goblins by yourself. That's
I would, as a DM, I would rather give XP for gold than XP for purely killing monsters, because XP for purely killing monsters invites the worst kind of player action. It invites the worst kind of murder hoboery. And I cannot stand it. Invites the players that will go into town and kill everyone in the tavern because they're literally whoring themselves out for XP. I would rather give XP for XP for anything else. I give XP for avoiding a fight. I give XP for subduing a monster. I give XP if a monster loses morale and runs away. I just don't want to give XP purely for killing monsters. I can't stand that. It is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Personally, I don't like modifying a game too much before playing it and seeing how it runs as is. There's obviously some, exceptions, having done this for a long time. There's some things that I find, like maybe, this or that little thing, but something as crucial and as big as what you get XP for, that's like, you really change the way everybody is going to play when you do something like that from the very beginning. And maybe they play tested it more than your experience or my experience to the point where they realize in order for satisfying growth, you kind of need to get XP for this or that.
I'm going to bring up the other part, which is doesn't matter what game it is. XP is the encouragement for how you want players to act.
Right.
And then I know that Brian there, he's talking about that for the OSE, and I actually like what they did with that. Which is not only is he talking 9% of the XP for the second character, if you take your money and you dump it into XP, which basically is the old Conan. Why is Conan always broke? Conan is broke because he spends all of his money on wine and women and nothing that's actually going to be making further money. That's part of it. But I also like the part with Axe, which is if the character dies, is you can do a heroic funeral and give them more XP for their next character, which is because first.
Yeah, I've never done that though, because they're two different people. I get it as a game, and I've played in games where your character died. Well, you can bring back a character that's like almost a carbon copy of the dead character, which is another thing I don't like. Because like if I'm running like let's say a thief, My thief dies. You know, what my next character is going to be a fucking thief.
Well, you
He
know what?
dies.
Mine
Guess
is
what?
well.
I will make your game look retarded in the fact that these characters keep popping up. You know, exactly like identical to the last guy, because I wanted to play that character. I'm not going to make a new character that's completely different because you don't want me to run the same character. You know
No,
what I
no, no.
mean?
Well, no, no, no. Well, yeah, but his point in this case is instead of you having to go all the way from first level and
Mhm.
just be through there, what you're doing is instead of having basically, if you get 10,000 gold and you say, guess what? I want to put 5,000 gold
That's
away for XP. 4,500 of that will go to your next character, whatever you play. And
Mhm.
actually, it's not even your next character. That goes for all future characters that you're going to have, and you can keep adding money to it. So guess what? And this happens to a lot of people. If you are kind of like, hey, like this is what happened to my characters. Hey, my mage died. Guess what? I'm going to create a cleric. Well, boom, guess what? Now my cleric's like third level. And my other character was like, fourth or fifth. And like, oh, that's nice. You're not just way in the back. But I that's why I don't mind it because I don't mind playing different characters. Like, hey, this one
Yeah.
dies. Let me try this one now. Hey, let me try this one. Now, that
Sure,
said,
sure.
In the OSC
I mean,
game I
if enough
play,
time has gone by, but like I
yeah,
made up a first level thief. First level thief dies. Well, I'm going to try it again
yeah,
and
yeah,
try it
exactly.
again.
That's true.
In
But
the
in
OS,
this case, we're talking about if you've been playing like fourth or fifth level,
Oh yeah,
you've
absolutely.
been playing a while, then guess what? Putting that money towards your future character to get XP, that's
Yeah,
fine. Very
yeah.
similar to if you saw Dark Sun. Like every time your main character went up a level, one of your other characters would go up a level, even if they weren't directly tied. That's like that's fine. Um,
yeah.
anyway,
One
I've liked
one
it, but
thing
go
one
ahead.
thing with new characters and remaking characters like after they die
I'll be
is
right back, guys.
is you make the backup character before you even play. You have the character and the backup character is already rolled. You know what you're going to play. You're not going to be like, you may be like, oh yeah, I'm rolling a second thief, or I'm rolling something similar. Maybe it's like instead of a thief, I'm going to be doing a ranger or something kind of like that. So they have a similar role in this in a sense, or a fighter, for example. But yeah, having it as a backup. Sometimes, in the case of our game, we were at a certain level. We were allowed to have our backup as kind of a retainer in the game.
Yes, and,
So
and,
that
and
was cool.
actually, that's where I think that if you're going to do it initially, which is guess what, your henchmen, those are going to be your backup characters if you die, and
Yeah.
while you're down in the dungeon, when you get back to the town, then you can roll up a new one. And I think that's part of where I think that, and I agree with Shadow on this. All of his complaints are valid if you have a DM that's not going to be playing by quote the rules.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's very frustrating is you're like, but why? And that's the reason that charisma became the dump stat because no one was using hirelings, no one was using
Yeah.
reaction adjustments. If you ignore those two, then charisma is a worthless thing. It's like having strength, but saying, guess what? You're never going to be fighting.
Yep.
Oh, if I'm never going to be fighting, then why do I need why do I need strength at all?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's a similar idea. So your dump stat generally becomes the thing that you don't think you're going to use, and it doesn't seem like a big deal until all of a sudden, you feel like, well, so and so has all these henchmen. I'm like, yep. And if you do use reaction rolls and loyalty rolls and henchmen, suddenly the guy with 18 charisma, we're talking about AD&D, has 17 henchmen. If he gets those henchmen and they have high charisma, then they can have henchmen, and you can go way down and get massive armies.
I was listening.
Yeah.
A couple of things. First off, everybody knows the proper dump stat is wisdom.
Unless you're playing a cleric,
Right?
that's true.
Exactly. Yeah, because
It's useless. It's useless stat unless you're playing a cleric.
As anybody who's gained with me in the last 5 years, I'm going to bring in a character with about a 10 wisdom, maybe lower, because I am going to do the stupid shit. I am going to be the fool who rushes in, unless I'm running, a cleric. Which wait, I don't do that. So perfect dump stat, low wisdom, high charisma. Tell me you've never met that guy,
Oh, yeah.
right?
You know
And
what?
the other thing, now I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, I forgot what I was going to say about the. Oh man,
Well,
it was
what
good
the
one too.
dump stat for intelligence, again, if you aren't going to be using languages, and we're not, and I'm just going to use BX in this case because AD&D has so many other crap with it. But if you aren't going to be using languages, then yeah, and guess what? Intelligence doesn't make any real difference except that unless you get like a 7 where you're illiterate. It's like, why? We're not using any other languages, so why do I need intelligence at all?
That reminds me.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
I think it was you, George. You said you have people roll up their second character.
Yeah.
I just encountered this the other day where someone rolled up their character and then said, I'm going to roll up another character, and then goes, oh, no, I like this character better, and the numbers were significantly better. And then they toss the other character. It's like, yeah. I'll make up another character if this one dies. I'm like, yeah, I'm not letting you do that. You roll up one character. A lot of cases, it's right down the line, unless,
my OSC GM would do like you roll 2 characters, take one's back. The one you don't want is a backup, and the one you do want is the main.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
I lost that character sheet. I don't know what I did with it.
well, no, I mean, but for X, the expectation is you roll up 3 characters, and then you can figure out what you want to do from there. And to be fair, I don't always do straight down the line for exactly what Shadow says. If I want to play a fighter, and you roll like really low for strength, a guy that doesn't like his character is going to let it die. And you're like, okay, look, guess what?
Absolutely, I've seen that more times than I can count. Yeah, I charge the freaking hill giant with my magic user. You know what I mean? And you can't tell them you can't do that. Because their character. I want to be stupid. You can't tell them, well, yeah, I don't want you in the game if you're going to behave like that. But sometimes that guy is the guy who's driving or is the ride for the other 3 players. I've seen that happen too. It's like, well, if I'm not in, either are they.
Well, and this is where I kind of like saying, hey, guys, is you'll overcome any low stats. But, yeah, it's one of these things that, look, if you don't like your character, for what that's why I said, go ahead and arrange it. And I don't really care that much. And again, I'm going to be a little bit different now. As I get older, I don't really care. It's like, oh, you know what? Cleric is fine. Thief is good. Fighter is good. I'm all okay with all of those. But
right.
But
every once in a while, though, I am like in the mood to play a very specific thing. Like about a year ago in Bloodworth's game, I wanted to run a barbarian. Just pure. I want to run a barbarian. I was reading Brack the Barbarian. Like, yeah, I want to run a guy just like freaking that. And that game lasted like 2 sessions, and then the GM wanted to make a whole new campaign. I'm like, oh man, I had a great character.
And my view on that is, if you're going to do a new campaign, guess what? Your old character can transfer to the new campaign, or an equivalent can move over with that.
Yeah, but I think there was a very specific reason why all of us picked new characters, because it was like we knew we were going to be very much town centric versus exploring. So the large number of characters we had completely changed to new things, which was fine. But
my whole point for what Paul's talking about there, we're not talking about character stats. We're talking about that you're unable to play the character you want to play. Which is, guess what? My strength isn't high enough to play a fighter. My intelligence isn't high enough to play a magic user.
Right. Right. And one of these days, Omen, I would like to play, before I die, I would like to play an illusionist. And I would like to play a druid, and I've never had the stats good enough to play an illusionist or a druid.
Well, and this is one thing I did like about for BX in certain cases, and this is why.
If I play AD&D, right?
Yeah. Well, if we're talking AD&D, my view on this is like, if you're really going to do it, it's you get method 4, which allows you to do it. But I actually like method, is it 3 or 4? There's one of them that what you get to do is you get to roll 6 dice for each, 6 times for each stat. Take the highest of the 6 for each of the stat, and you're generally going to get above average characters with very few low stats. That said, I have had more fun with characters with like, and actually Brian over there, which is talking about this.
It's awesome,
he's like,
Cal.
I was playing a character with a wisdom/willpower of 3, and they're like, your character is going to die. I'm like, yeah, if he ever makes a saving throw. if I ever have to do a saving throw, he's going to die because he gets a -3 to all saving throws. But until then, he's fun.
That's funny. My 9 and 10 wisdom characters in all of Bloodworth's games. Every time I had to make one of those wisdom saves, I got so freaking lucky. Sometimes I'd even roll a freaking 20. I was just like, I know I'm going to fail. I got a 10 wisdom, or lower, and I'm at a minus, and just like, okay, I'm hooked. I'm running low wisdom characters for the foreseeable future. Holy Diver, welcome to the show. Says use
Holy
the
diver.
character sheets out of the starter boxes. That way, no one has to start at Stephen Hawking stats.
Well, no,
Yeah.
no. See, Brian's talking about Res
46
Volden. No, Res
Frog
Volden is
Lois,
not the
that's
one I'm
my-
talking about. I was talking
It-
about my thief, the one that we were playing in Axe. He had an 18 dexterity and a 3 willpower. And in Axe, when you talk about wisdom, they call it willpower. The willpower determines your bonuses to all saving throws. And if you're at a -3, if you're at 3, you get -3 to all saving throws, which means basically if he fails, he's probably going to die as soon as he makes a saving throw. But yeah, that makes it fun. And then his talk about Res Volden, which is my cleric. The cleric has good hit points, but he has like a 6 intelligence, so he can't read scrolls. So
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
it's
one of the things I don't really like the rolling systems because I think most of the games I'm in, I know
Yeah.
there's somebody cheating in them. Like everyone's like got 18s, and I'm like, oh, I got a 14, great. I'm like, wow, this is above average, and people are getting 18s and 17s and all these things. And I prefer like point buys and things like that, systems like where they're just like, okay, you have so many points here, move them around a little bit.
Played a point buy in Castles and Crusades a couple of times. I find that if you do the 4d6, drop the lowest, unless you're shooting for Paladin, you kind of got it made. Maybe Ranger, maybe Druid. They're also a little tougher to get. But if someone's like, dude, I want to run a Paladin, I'm like, okay, roll your stats. Let me see your numbers, and I'll just make this one a 17.
Well, you know what? And part of me goes with this, which is, and again, we're
Because it's
talking about this.
it's not going to break the game.
Well, like monks are kind of hard to qualify for. Paladins are hard to qualify for. And Shadow and I have argued about this a lot of times, but I actually prefer, like, look, if you play a fighter, once you get a high enough level, and we can always argue about what level, but I would like them not to start off at first level with it. Guess what? Once you get that high enough level, you can automatically switch over and become a paladin from that point forward.
Yeah.
Because one is you've already learned the rules, and if you look, if you want to play a knight, and the character classes, especially by the time that they got to Unearthed Arcana, the fighter kind of sucked. I mean, it did. You just like, why am I playing this compared to the other stuff? Especially when you get into the higher levels. It was one of those that they never quite balanced it out like they should have.
You mean like a straight fighter?
Just a straight fighter.
Well, I mean, they do have some advantages numerically and mathematically in some of the mechanics. But not everybody, like in AD&D, they knew that everybody was going to want to run a ranger, so they said you'd only have, 2 or 3 rangers in any one party. That usually kind of, settled that sort of issue.
And a paladin would be limited because then guess what? You can't run with the thief more than a couple of games. You weren't allowed to run. And that was the problem really with it is like, look, we can't play with the paladin for this. The only real advantage to the fighter is guess what? They were allowed to do all sorts of underhanded, dirty stuff that the cavalier and the others were not. But at the end of the day, I still prefer, I like the idea of kits. I didn't like how they were implemented, but I would rather the paladin have been a kit, or like what they did with BX. Once you hit a certain level, guess what? You can pick this and say, guess what? Your paladin is now your holy leader leading armies into battle. That's the paladin. If you became a warlord, your idea was that you were going to create a domain castle kind of thing. And then if you were going to be, whatever you want to call it, an evil fighter or whatever, however you want to do it. But I would have much preferred some of that because one is you're not limited by your stats on taking what you would like to have. It's like, and really the fighter, I think the way that they were looking at it by the time they got to Unearthed Arcana is the only people who are playing fighters are going to be either Fallen Rangers or Fallen Paladins, or you're going to be or you're going to be some demi-human. And you're going to have something else with them.
Or if you use the Unearthed Arcana, you were going to be like that sword guy or that bow guy, that specialist in that
Specialized.
particular weapon.
Yeah, but see, and that's one of the things I didn't like about all the specializations, because a lot of spells, because then you get into, which is what happened with 2E, you start getting the hit points up a lot higher. Like if you look at like Power Word Kill and a few others, it's like that was intended to kill a dragon, and when you put high level, once you start increasing the hit points, then guess what? I can't use my spell. You've negated it. And this is where design choices start coming into it, is you start finding out that players very quickly realize which ones are better for combat and useful. And this is why, I don't know, you didn't like it, but this is one of the reasons I liked it, which was in 2E when they start capping certain damages. It's like, it's a 3rd level spell. It should not be better than some 9th level spells once you get up to that level. That said I would have no problems if they allowed you to, upsell it. Like, guess what? You can cast a 6th level fireball to do a lot more damage. You can do a 9th level fireball to do a lot more damage. And that's when you're powering stuff up. That's what I would have preferred to have seen. It's like, hey, guess what? You're going to do this. You can cast it as a 4th level spell or a 5th level spell. And then you're like, oh, okay. But no, and Bo, I've been playing a gnome illusionist thief. And one is, they're a lot of fun because you can do your thief abilities and you have the illusion abilities.
Nice.
So, those are... I like the dog there. Is that a dog or a sheep? I can't tell.
It's
It's Irish. It's a sheep.
It's an Irish wolfhound.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a sheep with teeth then. No, it's... Yep. Okay.
All right, cool.
Yeah, but those are the things that I want players to actually enjoy their characters, and if they can do it, I don't want them to feel that. And that's the other part too. I've been looking at some other home brew, which I kind of like, which is, guess what? If you go every level, roll 3d6, and if you roll above your stat, it goes up by 1. So you're never gonna get above 18. But I was like, oh, you get to roll all, and I would do that for every stat. So guess what? By the time you're 10th level, you no longer suck.
Well, to bring the argument completely full circle, the problem I have with the cleric as the heal bot is that it's become, and I blame World of Warcraft and MMO, it becomes an entitlement on the part of other players. Oh, you're playing the cleric, I'm playing the fighter, you have to heal me. And
Yes.
it bugs me that there are all these really cool first level cleric spells, but nope, all you get to do is you memorize Cure Light Wounds 3 times.
Oh, see, this is where I think the DM needs to come into it. And
Well,
the DM no, what I mean is the DM determines what spells are available for the cleric.
right, and here's the problem.
Yeah.
Here is the problem, and it's irrefutable. If player A dies because the cleric didn't have that Cure Light Wounds, he can say it's your fault.
And I'm going to bring up a little bit different, which is,
And if you smoke 5 packs a day and you die of cancer, it's my fault. No.
Well, no. I'm not
The
disagreeing.
fighter
with
was
you
doing
about
his
that.
job, which was fighting. Now, mind you, if he goes in and rushes in and does something really stupid and gets killed, that's one thing. If he's just standing, holding the line, protecting the rest of the party, he kind of was doing what he was supposed to do.
Well, it's one of the things is like when you get in kind of younger players that kind of come from video games. That's it's almost a good thing that they have that role, like they know kind of a party role and they kind of play that. But they don't really understand when they come into the game that it's not only that. Like you can break out of that the role of tank healer and DPS.
Yeah.
Well, these are the 2 things I was referring to. One is as a dungeon master, you can say, well, your god is not going to give you more than one healing spell per level per spell level. Well, guess what? You can do one cure light wounds. It's like, okay, that's up to you on how you're going to use it. What is that prevents the spamming of, hey, I'm only going to have. And I'll be honest, when I was growing up as a kid, that's why I hated clerics, because everyone expected them to do that. But the other
Yeah,
part
nobody
is,
wants to play the cleric. Nobody wants to play a cleric.
well, wait a minute. But then the other issue that comes into it is it encourages bad behavior. What I mean, I'm going to be a little bit different than saying bad behavior by the players. What it removes some of the tactical aspects, like you said, is you shouldn't have a fair fight. That thief should be sneaking in behind.
Yeah, okay. First off, that's a fallacy right there because you have no control over that in the way you think you do. The GM can make it so that you never. You guys have all heard of Tucker's Kobold. Okay, the dungeon is never going to let you have that tactical advantage. The only way to go through it is to freaking plow and grind through it. And there are so many modules back in the day that are like that.
And that's a bad dungeon. I mean, I've been listening to Chubby Funster talk about how you're supposed to be doing.
I know, but it's still a thing.
I'm not saying it isn't a thing. The problem, again, players learn based off of what they're forced to do. I agree with you. If everything is going to be a fight face to face, that's a completely different discussion than saying, well, what should you be doing? Because guess what?
Right, and when you limit the cleric and you say you only get one cure light a day, he's like, well, sorry guys, it's mine. I'm not going to heal you. And then the cleric's like, can we hire a cleric who'll do what we want?
Well. How much is he taking the damage to? Is he in the back?
Well, as a cleric, he can actually, literally justify, hey, I'm fighting just as much as the fighter. Nice, James. It's like I'm up front, just like the fighter. I got my shield and my mace and my chainmail. I'm doing the same thing. Why should I heal him instead of myself?
Exactly. Why should he heal the fighter instead of himself?
But no. When we're talking about AD&D, the people
Jackie would love one of those
games really straight down. I do like. To be fair, I would rather players just roll 12 times for their characters and then just take the highest 6 and arrange them as they like. That way you don't get too many. You don't get super low stats, but you don't get super high stats either. So
to be fair, guys, when it comes to stats, it's fucking hysterical, James. I literally, I mean, Omen. Most of the characters now in our AD&D game have like 4 or 5 stats that are in the 19 plus category because it's not going to hurt the game for me. When you're at that kind of stakes and level, etc. I don't care if somebody said, "Oh, I rolled all 18s." I'll be like, "Okay, cool. That means I just get to hit you harder."
Well, I mean that's really what it comes down to. I'm going to say for high stats is it matters more if all of the party has high stats. You have one character that has low stats.
I can literally go, "Oh, Mr. Fighter, you took 18 points of damage. Mr. Magic User, you got lucky again. You only took 2."
No, I understand. But what I'm referring to is because I've been playing. I remember playing a Dark Sun game, and the highest stat that my character had was a 15. The rest of them were, which really, if you get 15 or below, you barely get any bonuses. A lot of the other players had 20s, and what you start finding out is you just kind of sit around twiddling your thumbs in the background. That's where I find the issue is more of the. That's what I'm referring to. Is it depends on how are you comparing to the other characters that are within the game. There's that. I will say this much though is, and I found it kind of funny, and people don't want to talk about this. The characters that tend to have higher stats took more risks, and they tend to end up dead a lot of times. So you get that.
Well, yeah, Paul, that's the way it should be. I mean, we're all adults, and we all have been for decades, I assume. So we really don't run into that. A lot of these arguments that I give you are from as many as 20 or 30 years ago, but I know they were valid then, and there are people out there that probably have these kind of issues or concerns. James, when you come back, you know.
And,
Well,
and
that's-
you do get certain ones, which this is why I kind of like Axe, which is guess what? You're gonna have one stat minimum of a 13. You're gonna have two stats of a minimum of a 9. It's like, okay, guess what? You're always gonna have at least a +1 bonus. And then the character's like, okay. So if you're a fighter, guess what? You're gonna be strong. Duh. You know, it's or whatever you want to do. So I kind of like that aspect for it, but you don't get the highest stats for everything.
yeah, and what most players. Oops, sorry, James. I keep freaking. Here you go. Sorry.
Stop deleting James.
No, it's just there's a
Yeah.
delay on my slider button, so that I think it didn't work, and then I click it, and then it goes, oh,
Okay.
fake psych. What most players take, it takes a lot of players a long time to realize that excuse me, I can't even talk now, with all 18s is incredibly boring compared to that character that's got a mix of ups and downs, got that 10 wisdom, he's always doing stupid shit.
Wait a minute,
but
wait a minute. 10 wisdom is average. Try it when you have a 4 wisdom. And
Dude, I played a character just a couple of months ago. Highest stat was a 6. That was charisma. He was a fighter. I can do it. I don't like doing it. Don't make me do it. Don't want to do it. But you know, I'll have fun with whatever I get. Provided I'm running the actual profession I'm in the mood for. If
Right,
I'm in
right.
the mood to play this or that, I'm not in the mood to play the exact opposite. I don't have time for that crap. You know, and
Well, what
like
I'm
I said,
saying is if you're playing a multiple, be fair. It's like if you're not doing, we're not just talking about one session. If you're playing over 10 or 15 sessions, no one has any problems if you say, hey, can I play my magic user instead of my fighter this week? That's what I'm referring to. And
I can
when
see
we're
that. Paul.
talking, when we're talking about randomness, it depends on what type of randomness we're talking about. There are unplayable characters effectively, especially if you don't qualify for anything. If you really want to play a dwarf, then it's like,
Well, actually, there are rules for that too. There are rules
Yeah.
for throwing away a what do they call it, a feeble character,
Or hopeless characters. It was in
hopeless
Gamma
character.
where they had this really freaking awful looking character. He's like, I am not playing that. I got better things to do. See you guys. You know, because back in the
I
day,
got sexually dead.
we
You shouldn't be
had
playing.
the luxury of being able to play that character, the time to play that character, and it helped us learn. But when you're looking at this, could literally, this could literally be the last game I ever play because I could have a coronary going down the stairs. I want to have some fun and play something that I'm going to enjoy while I'm laying in the hospital bed, versus something like God. I can't believe my last game I played like literally one of the worst characters I've ever run because I got the most mismatched, goofy, awful stats. I guess I'll just think about the other games I played instead of that one.
Yeah.
So
Well, the other part is
that I know that's an old man's problem, but
well, the other part is if it really comes down to it, is like if you're really worried about as DM about players rolling, then what you do is you create 30 different characters with stats and say, here you go, pick one.
yeah, I don't have time for that. You want to do that? That's cool. I've heard that before. DM James, I've made up 50 freaking characters for Iboria. I'm going to let my players choose. And I would look at that stack. I would go through every one of them. I'm like, yeah, can I roll my own character?
Well, I mean,
I
most of them.
I fucking hate pre-gens. I literally feel like a human die roller, and I'm just there to play the part. Because I guarantee I will find a character that I want to play without even looking at your stack, and it'll be very different from all the things you rolled up. Because I have weird moods and wants and desires when I come to the table.
Maybe you need to see a priest.
Well, we'll see.
New book, like, hey, I want to run a freaking weird ass thing, and I guarantee you didn't pre-gen that.
Well, usually what I'm referring to is you just roll up the stats and then let the players pick. Like, do you want to be a fighter with this one? Sure. And if Paul's saying this is for hopeless characters, well, technically, if you read
that's
BX,
a good argument, Paul.
If you read BX and AD&D, it says if you have quote a hopeless character, roll another one.
That's right.
I will be subscribing right after this, though.
So there's that. It's not that you can't get through most of the stuff. And sometimes, let's be honest, if you know you got a bad character, guess what? Hey, I will take the party lead, knowing that character is going to die. Like,
Mhm.
okay. Um,
I'll be your
you-
trap detector.
well, anyone
Yeah,
that's
but I
ever
mean
played a funnel,
that's kind of awful too, isn't it?
it
That is.
It is, but
Because it's the same thing you're
Paul
talking about.
Paul
I don't
makes
have time for that either.
Paul makes a great argument. If your system allows for hopeless characters at creation, you made a bad system, one that maybe needs updating after 50 plus years. You know what? That point is actually really good because you're supposed to be playing, the best of the best of the best, sir. Not some schlub. Which brings me to this weird thing I've been wondering for the last year. Why is the town or whoever hiring this group of teenagers to go solve the town's problems? Why don't they get the freaking third level sergeant, the fourth level mage, the young priest from the church, and this guy we got in jail who keeps getting arrested for breaking and entering, instead of these first level kids, literally like right out of the cartoon, to go and save the town, rescue the world, save the world? Why is it always that instead of like, a mixed match of, third to seventh level people who live in this town who could do the job 100 times better?
oh, I agree with you on that. Well, part of me goes, guess what? You're coming to the town, and they're like, look, that is the unexplored area. You guys are probably going to die if you go out there, but go ahead and make your
And don't go,
riches.
right?
Well, no. Well, it's kind of like, look, go ahead and make your riches. But I agree with you. By the time you're about third, well, actually, technically, what's fourth level? Fourth level for a fighter is hero. By the time you're fourth level, guess what? We're going to call you for the heroes. It's going to be, hey,
Right.
we need a hero to help us. Let's go find one.
Yeah, not let's take this, this 18-year-old kid, away from his parents.
But
And force him to
you're speaking across purposes. In Dungeons and Dragons, a first level character is supposed to be a hero. A first level character is not supposed to be an 18-year-old kid.
no,
A zero level character is an 18-year-old kid. A first level character is already supposed to be very
a
nearly
veteran.
heroic.
You said
With
veteran.
A veteran.
With the exception of the cleric and the magic user and maybe the cleric, you can literally roll up a first level character under 18
But
by using the age brackets in the DMG.
But
In
again,
AD&D.
I guess yeah. But this is why I said fourth level, because fourth level is classified as a hero for a fighter. At that
Right.
point, that's when the town will start calling on you. The rest of the time, it's like, oh great, we got another one coming through. Let's fleece them. You know what they look at you as? They look at you just like they did the gold miners that were coming over in 47 or 49. The 49ers. It's like, hey, how can we fleece them out of their money before they die in X dungeon out there? That's it. And then it's like, well, why are they getting so many hirelings? It's like, because Bob over there is a gong farmer, and he would like to actually make some money, and so he can improve his hovel, so maybe he can have a stove.
Right. Wiz or Wib, sorry. I have seen too many D&D towns that contained more than adequate
Yes.
higher level NPCs that should be doing the job that they suckered a bunch of first levelers into. Think about the first level magic user. Okay, he can cast one spell a day. Other than that, if he gets bit by a cat, he can die.
It's
Okay?
this is why I
Literally,
said
that's dumb. Why would they
Well-
even let you out of the magic user school until you could cast a freaking a barrage of magic missiles, or at least a lightning bolt, a dimension door spell to get out of trouble, or an invisibility spell? They're going to let you out with 4 hit points and wish you the best of luck. What kind of school is that?
well. This is the whole thing that when I look at, it's like, hey, we got more
Mind you, magic
adventures.
users are broken at first level.
Well, this is why you get first level adventures. Well, to be fair, is when people are talking about that, and I'm going back and looking at things. When you used to have a party mapper, that's what your magic user was.
That's right.
Sure, unless the player was inept.
Well, let's be honest, an inept player should not be playing a magic user.
Yeah, but sometimes it happens.
Well, the other part is if you're playing as the rules is written, your magic user should also know several languages, which
Sure.
means that he's going to have the more higher intelligence, and so you're like, okay, here's the so guess what? When you meet the goblins, who has goblin? Well, okay, the elves, but your magic user might say, you know what? I speak Draconic. Oh, fantastic! This is the one time that we get to meet.
If your first level party is running into a dragon, you got the wrong DM.
Well, no,
That's not true.
That's not true. It's not all dragons necessarily have to be things that you fight. That's the problem. I think that's this mentality. You have to
Exactly.
fight
If they're evil, they're going to kill you.
That's not true necessarily. They're
That's not
intelligent.
true either. That's not true. Remember, a lot of
Why
people
would they
talk.
not kill you?
Because you take a roll on, you roll the 2d12 and see what happens. There's a good chance they don't want to fight at all. We've been saying this for hours.
Well,
I cannot. I literally cannot picture an evil, even of the 4 category dragon, seeing a group of adventurers.
Did Smog go and kill Bilbo right away?
He couldn't find him.
See him.
Well, I'm going to be a little bit different on this, which is
I would be giving that reaction, a serious minus or plus or whatever it takes, because they're fucking evil and their first reaction is going to kill.
But no, because they're not stupid.
Stop. Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Evil is stupid, but okay.
Be like, the dragon may be bored. Hey, I'm going to talk to you.
Exactly.
You'll find out. And then the other part is,
or maybe cast charm person, right off the bat or something like that. But it's not going to be, let's parlay.
Dragon could just be fucking with them too. Like it's just like, oh yeah, let me see what I can get these guys to do and send them off.
Yeah, polymorph you into a freaking squirrel.
No. He doesn't have to.
No, more like emotional
they
manipulation. Like send them off to like do something to the queen and say, oh yeah, like
maybe
like
send them on a quest.
Yeah, like a quest to disrupt things. Like they'll be like, oh, I want to disrupt the kingdom over there. I know this knowledge, but I can't go in there and talk to them. So I'm going to send these guys in with this knowledge I've found out.
It literally says veteran on their title at first level.
Yeah.
Now, veteran can mean a lot of different things. He could be, right out of boot, saw one combat and said, yeah, I don't want to work for you guys anymore. I'm going to strike out on my own because I did so well and I didn't get the promotion I wanted, or he was the only survivor.
Well, and that's the whole thing is that the first thing the characters may do, especially if fighting the dragon at low level, is they should probably talk because they're not.
Let me rephrase that. First level running into a dragon. Outdoors, sure. In a dungeon, no.
No, I'm going to say
that's the way the rules were. You had in a dungeon, you were only going to run into first level monsters as a first level, or if you went into a first level dungeon, that's just the way it was. To have a semblance of survivability and fairness. Of course, if you have a world map and you have a bunch of different dungeons on the map, and you tell the party that's like a really dangerous place, and everybody suggests you stay away, and they still go in there, then maybe. But if they say,
this is you're right, but this is the caveat. If you have a gazetteer, right, an old hex map, you're playing like the Grand Duchy of Karamikos, and because you're playing BX or you're playing Back Me, and the thing is, if the DM should give the players clues all the way. There's a cave. What's outside the cave? There's charred armor outside the cave. There's a human chicken McNugget outside the cave. The players should say, "Oh, I'm not going in there." That's the thing, Shadow. There should be dragons around at first level. There should, because the world is a living, breathing thing, and I'm not going to take my game world does not have training wheels. The difference is I give the players clues.
I'm going to bring up one other thing too, which is the dragon. When you come into it, is he may be irate, but he may look over like, "What do you want?" And it's like, "Well, we're going to do this." Like, "Oh, guess what? I'm going to kill you unless you do this for me." It's like, I've been being annoyed because they make too much noise. Can you go blah, blah, blah? These goblins over here are in the damn caves down, wherever. They've been bothering me and I can't get in there to eat them. So you go kill them off and It's like, look, part of it just comes down to is, do you remember watching the movie Dragon Slayer?
It's been a
Yes.
while.
1981. Well,
Yeah.
how did the king make a deal with the dragon? Which is never really described, but they know that they made a deal with said dragon.
For
It's
the
like,
virgins or whatever, the regular sacrifices.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse than saying, hey, you know what? Let's go send the Expendables, who we know can't kill the dragon, to go talk. The worst that happens is they might actually make a deal with said dragon. And it's like, it's like, you have to do this. And you can do that with players as long as you set it up. Again, you don't
Nerdy,
have to
Imagine,
figure it
imagine
out.
how scared a party would be, Omen.
Yeah.
You're the DM, and you're playing with experienced D&D players,
Oh, yeah.
and they get their rat killing quest. But the rat killing quest, they go in the cave, and there is a ancient black dragon in there, and they know that black dragon's got acid breath.
Did you see that?
Yeah. This is the fighter showing its veteran, the first one. But that's
Yeah,
why I
first
said
level.
hero is 4th level. But no, my point
veteran.
is for BX, if you look at it, how many hit points does the dragon have in BX? It is literally 32 hit points. It's not a lot.
Sure.
that is-
You could go to the
But
5th
32
level.
hit points will wipe out a party pretty easily up to about 4th or 5th level. If you play them intelligently.
According to the title, Nerdy, first level is called a veteran.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. It's a veteran
And-
means that you have experience in combat and fighting. It probably means you've been through one campaign. You basically
assignment,
is wrong. Is no 0 level is what most warriors were. If you look at first edition Dungeons and Dragons. So,
Right.
yep. Anyway, but the whole point is it allows
that
your
may be, but
characters-
D&D is wrong.
but no,
I think in that
again,
particular instance, they defined within
Yeah.
their worlds. That's what that was. It just
well,
there's no reason why it has to be a big deal and why it just can't be the way it is.
because
You
0
know,
level characters where
who's
you're
been in the military knows that that training and your first combat puts you quite a bit above the average Joe Schmuckatelli that you meet on the street. The average person your actual age, maybe even older, that's never been in a fist fight, is going to get their asses handed by a guy after his first real combat in the real world against real adversaries.
Yeah, veterans probably going to be 3 to 6 months of actual combat. But anyway, but again, when you're starting to look at this, it's not that you can't do it, but this is where you start getting things like, when we had our adventure. Hey, guess what? Let's go
James
talk to
comes
the
back.
beholder. Let's go talk to the beholder. Which
Sure.
kind of aggravated me when we said, "Hey, let's go stab in the back." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, that was kind of fucked up, especially considering,
We had everything we needed. That was the-
and there was literally the treasure that the beholder had. He would have went, "What? I risked my life for this?" So yeah, the best stuff he already gave you in trade, which was a freaking
Yeah, nerdy. The problem is that people look at first level as you're fresh off the farm, and that's not what it is. If you're fresh off the farm, you're 0 level, and they have rules for that in AD&D into the Greyhawk rules. But yeah, it's the
because your interpretation of what first level should be is if that's the case, again, they should not be allowed outside the town or the village in a world full of magic and monsters, because their parents would say, what are you, fucking stupid? You want to get dead? You're going to get dead. You're going to walk 8 feet outside those castle walls and be dead. You don't have what it takes. Everybody's going to laugh at you, and the DM's going to be like, a giant rat bit you and you died.
first level is pretty tough, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Because there has to be a reason why they would let you out of
under
town.
XP, it was 0.
Or to go into the sewers to do the mission and kill the giant rats.
Yeah.
They wouldn't just pick middle school kids and go off you go. Prove
Well, what
yourself.
we're dealing that's from a mechanical perspective, that what we're dealing with is power creep. Gygax hated high level play.
Mhm.
Gygax didn't think it would be possible because you're playing. In Dragon Magazine famously calculated it out that he was talking about the San Francisco Arduin crowd, and he's saying, well, there's no way you're 36 level because the game's only been going. This game's only 3 years old, and if you played once a week at this many XP, there's no possible way you can be more than fourth level. He did the math because he'd been playing D&D since the beginning, and
Except that's wrong. I can say as much as I got up to 40th level characters within a few months because it depends on what you're fighting and how much you're splitting
I'd
the
be
XP.
I'd be curious.
Yeah,
I know you're the Palladium guy, nerdy, but have you played any versions of D&D lately or ever? I really don't know. I'm not being sarcastic or facetious. I don't know your experience other than Palladium, and I got to tell you, I played Palladium, and every Palladium, like especially like riffs and shit like that, those guys are freaking first level are badasses. You take any first
yeah.
level riff character and you drop them into like an AD&D world, they will rule the planet at first level.
Oh yeah.
Especially like Leyline Walker, Glitter Boy, Dragon, Mind Melter. Yeah, you rule the world because you're freaking badass.
Well,
You-
and I'm gonna be this about 0 level characters because 0 level only goes for like one session. Um, that's because when you play DCC, this is one thing I do like about
Me too. I hate
certain
fun.
certain, certain systems where they specify what percentage of the people are of X level. And when you start looking at it, and I'll use DCC as an example. If you're 9th or 10th level, it says once in an epoch. That's the kind of hero level you are at 10th level.
right.
And it says this is like 1 in 10. This is like 1 in 1,000. This is like 1 in 1,000,000. And you're like,
And,
oh, okay.
and if you throw Paladin into that mix, it's even more rare.
Well, that's my point is that at those, but that's the problem that you have with a lot of it is when we talk about power creep. This is why it started hating second edition. They got rid of 0 level in second edition effectively, and then the other part with second edition was they just started throwing high level characters everywhere. And like fourth level was, and they got rid of the titles. But when you say fourth level is a hero, that means something. When you say seventh level fighter is a superhero, and people are complaining about, well, so and so jumped off a cliff. Like, yes, superheroes jump off cliffs. They get hurt, but they can still survive it. I think that's part of the issue is that people stopped looking at the titles.
Well, because they stopped having the titles.
Yeah, it's when they got rid of the titles, I think you lost a lot of the flavor of the game. I do. It also gave you
Yeah.
a different attitude for it.
Was it
because-
you, Bo, who said you wanted to bring back titles for B&B?
I am bringing back titles for my B&B.
Nice.
I am writing. I am trying to. I have been working on writing titles.
Yeah, so that's what it comes down to.
But the again, my favorite example of this, Omen, is in the AD&D Dungeon
Oh, I
Master's
know.
Guide,
I was just trying
and
to
it
be.
says Gygax wrote that the first level magic user's
That's
apprentice,
what I
pardon me,
heard.
master, is an impossibly. He used, I think, the word impossibly high level character, at least 6th level.
Yeah, I know. I just thought that was funny too. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Nerdy. We're literally talking AD&D.
Yeah.
Beckme.
Well, he's
And
second
BX.
edition, of course.
Beckme and BX, yeah.
Yeah, we're
or
talking,
even White Box.
Yeah, we're talking pre-1987 D&D. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's why there's the discrepancy because every game you just mentioned is like decades, literally, like, except Traveler, like decades after the editions we're talking about. So it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of the things we're talking about was drastically changed. From second or third edition
Yeah.
on up drastically. So maybe in because I never played 3 or 4. I played 3.5 Pathfinder, whatever,
Yeah.
very briefly, and things were very different.
And that was part of the thing that
Suck.
that's why I did not like certain things in there because first level was supposed to mean something. Guess what? You're not just a first level magic user. It's like we're sending you out into the world, and you're gonna have to find out what's going on. And I agree with Gygax not always doing the stuff at the high level. And part of my issue really at the high level is as we're getting up those high levels is you start looking at the spells, and the spells are not that much better than they were at like fifth.
Well,
Or
that's because of the very minimal effort was put into them, and it seemed like to us for a long time that, oh my god, this is great. I can do these great things, and some of them were, but a lot
yeah,
of them were just like, I need to fill in this space quick. Somebody come up with something,
oh, I know, I know.
and
Well,
it sucks.
that's what I'm trying to say is that's why I did not like. Um, that's why I can tell at the higher level. This is why I like Axe because Axe is made. Guess
No, not
it has,
don't no, not all nerdy. Uh,
yeah.
just
No, no, no,
because,
no. We're not saying that. We're just saying that the player perception has changed from
and I'm
what
in your
D&D
freaking
was
you
to
know
what it is now.
Palladium game this
Yeah.
coming week, I think. So your opinions and stuff like that are more than welcome. It's just that this particular topic was about something that it's weird. I know that, even for me, playing the equivalent of 50-plus-year-old games when there's new stuff, must seem really weird. But it is that nostalgia thing. It is the game I know the best because I ran it for so long. Even though my first real game that I ran after AD&D was Rift's Fantasy, so I know how much different it was. And for us, my players were like, they looked at uh, Palladium, Fantasy, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is so much better." But then
I remember somebody describing
some things it
Palladium to
was,
me
some
in
things it
college.
wasn't. For them, it was all about combat. Wow, my old D&D character only got like 2 attacks. This new character's getting like 4. Oh, at
Or
first level,
or
he's got to be better.
seven. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you get a parry or something.
Crap. I gotta go.
Okay. See you later,
Take
Bo.
care, Bo. I will see
Glad having
you
you.
maybe tomorrow or Monday. I don't know. Take care.
Okay. But no, I think part of it is that, and I'm
Or
I'm
maybe
not
he's just going
against.
to the bathroom. I
Everyone
don't know.
wants to.
Because he's still
You
here,
know,
right,
if
folks?
well, if you
Yeah.
look at first
Okay.
edition versus white box, and then white, each of the editions have been fairly different. And part of the reason is I actually like editions to be a lot different than the previous one, because otherwise otherwise it's just like why am I getting the same thing? Because I really hated Vampire the Masquerade first,
I,
second, and third, which were super minor changes to each of the editions that were just annoying, and it was that's what's getting in there. But if you look at it, Hyperborea. Um, my favorite still is Axe, more from the DM side, not for the player side, because from the DM side, when Shadow says he wants to play Paladin, they have a Paladin class, and it's different. And then if I want to change, then if he says, "Hey, I want to change up a little bit," like, okay, we can create a custom character class that has mechanical. Again, all things still have to be approved, but it's like, hey, I don't mind giving you this. Yeah, let's do that. Hey, you want to customize it? Yeah, this paladin is different than a fighter. It really does feel different than a fighter. It's not a fighter with bonuses. Um,
Mm.
that's part of it. The other thing is, and I'm going to bring this up, which people seem to forget, is
Jason, that
if
is
you
a freaking great comment.
is but this is my point on there is each edition should be unique to itself. I will say fourth edition should have been called D&D Tactics because it
Yeah,
was a board game rather than a
yeah.
role-playing game for the most part, which
It's
which
a good
bugged
one
me.
too. Oh,
But the but like when you start looking at this stuff is we need to innovate some of the things, but D&D got pretty bloated, and then it, nothing seemed to be balanced as far as proficiencies. This is why I preferred playing with. If you had Shadow and I've talked about this about guess what? Pick a profession. Oh, you did this, then we'll give you certain skills. If you do this, and that's one of the reasons that when we play with the Ye Geek, if your profession, if there's a skill in that profession, well, guess what? All roles are easier.
is there too
Um,
much orange in that skin, guys? Except for the
you know,
face.
you know what though is I don't know because it's an Oni. Oni are super bright. it's, I
I need to do the face, but at the same time, the eyes are orange, so I
would
got to
pref-
be really careful. I may throw
I,
back another bit of red back in there because it does look a little almost peachy,
you know
which I
what you could
didn't
do?
want.
Yeah,
Odie have a
I
lot
like
of
the face
blue and
better than
stuff
the
in there
body.
too. I think
Yeah, I'm gonna
Odie.
go back. It was really
Um,
hard because those orange eyes just don't pop. I might have to make them
yeah,
yellow instead. With just
yeah,
orange.
but that's but
Yeah, that
you
gives
know
like a
if you
wolf-like appearance. It's kind of cool.
the D&D also had the issue that you were supposed to have chainmail if you did big combats, and I could
Hmm.
never find chainmail when I was a kid, um, which made it. And then the other part is not that we've played with it, but when you start looking at the maneuverability classes, that actually can get really interesting if you're going to do that. Um, if you have an A, B, C, or D, like dragons have this long, um,
Yeah, it wasn't
turning
until
ability.
recently that I really dove into that and just how wildly different the maneuverabilities made flying combat. I mean, I used it back with the battle systems back in the day,
Yeah.
but my players just did not want to have anything to do with that. Whole different topic for another night because we're going to close this up in about 9 minutes. Um, real quick. I played and I loved riffs, but I loved the characters way more than I did the world. So I had to, I kind of did different stuff with the world, but it is a crazy, mixed up, freaking wonderful game when you got a GM who knows how to run it and runs it well. Otherwise, it is so open for wildly misinterpreted rules. It's
My
literally like that game that I could literally picture like nobody running it the same way because there are so many weird ass combat rules because everything else is no big deal. Percentage roll just to make your skill check. Yes, sir.
journeymen have experience, nerdy, because you have to be an apprentice. So I know because I'm looking at my son doing this. You have to be working for 4 real world years to become a journeyman. Then you have to get 4 more years to become a master, usually. Um, but the but no, the how do I want to put this? I liked Palladium before they did too much MDC. The MDC turned me off of that. And if I was ever going to go back over, it's not that I'm
Nice,
against
Cal.
the idea of MDC. It was just too much MDC. Um, everything had MDC, which made it felt ridiculous. Is the problem that I had with riffs for that? Is I would if I was going to do it, guess what? Your dragons, your giant monsters would have MDC, things that are heavily armored, and everything else would have SDC. I think that just is a better way of doing it. So it encourages players to have, and then I would only do it as a times 10 rather than by 100. So then players just don't die from basic weapons.
Mhm.
Uh,
Nerdy, I think about it like this because your argument makes more sense if you're talking about a cleric or a magic user, but a straight fighter, literally. I mean, look back through history at how young warriors could have been. Even if you just take modern days, you can go in at 17. At 18, you've already been to Fallujah and killed 80 men.
I mean, technically you can do it at 16, but there's some special. There's as
Right,
low as
right, there are.
16. Yeah, yeah.
But
But my
if you go
grandfather
back
wasn't
into ancient
16.
history,
Yeah,
you had people 13 and 14, and even in the modern world, you got 13 and 14-year-olds with AKs, just waiting to gun somebody down.
and then
So
Civil War.
warriors like the
Civil.
worst example.
Yeah.
Then you go fighter. Actually, thieves are youngest, then fighters, then clerics and magic user. In how many years it takes to become a first leveler. Uh, Thieves, you can learn that skill by 12. Fighters, 13, 15, and on up. You see what I'm saying? They're not all equal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
John.
What?
Like,
Again, peasants were not would be 0 level in most cases. But regardless of however we're going to look at this, is I liked for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I liked the Palladium system for that. I thought it worked out pretty well. It just depended on what you were trying to do. It was just one of these things that it was riffs is like Numenera to me. It's just too much all at once, and it just feels like it's when they do MDC, it just bugged the hell out of me. That's the reason I didn't like Rift. Rift just burned me out. I felt the same way later on for Robotech. It's like, look, I want people to have
God, I wish I could have played
M16s.
Robotech. I got all the books.
Oh, I do too.
Never met a person in real life who wanted to play Robotech.
Oh man, we played it all the time when I was in high school. But that was also because we played
You were in high school.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, that's my point. But
it was pretty juvenile. The books, the paperback books, were way different and way more
I read
less
those.
juvenile.
Well, you know what though is you have to take cartoons what they are, but I still enjoyed for the combat. Well, guess what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to fire off all these missiles. But yeah, this is the whole thing that I do and enjoy. Different game systems, I think, do different things. It's like we were talking with XP. In Numenera, guess what you get XP for? Exploration. So it encourages players to go out and explore, not fight, explore. And you get experience points for learning new things. So if you suddenly find out that a beholder now has an anti-magic ray, you get experience points, not for killing the beholder, but for learning that the beholder has an anti-magic ray.
in our OSC game, our GM is doing like exploration credits and stuff. Like you find 5 rooms, you uncover secrets. We also have like a whole carousing mechanic that he found somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think Carcass Crawler or something like that.
Could have been Shadow Dark as well. That's got a carousing system.
Yeah.
Well, and remember MERP? MERP, you get experience points for every mile you travel. So it encourages you to do a lot of travel.
I'm going to have to put a ban on people bringing up MERP because I sold all my books and it just freaking dagger in the freaking spleen when I think about having done that. What a
I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I got some of those PDFs before the server was taken down. But again, I've never played MERP. But it's some of these old games you have to like really look at like why they were created, what they were dealing with, and what type of play style you wanted.
By the way, Nerdy, that system you like, it was Arduin first, almost word for word. It was Arduin.
I like the Palladium XP system for what it has.
It's literally Arduin going all the way back to 1976, 75, whatever it was. But we're gonna wrap up now, guys.
Sure.
We got 3 minutes, and just want to check in. George, what do you got going on this week?
Oh, nothing really. Just got to catch up on work, regular work.
It's a new year. It's a new brand new work week, and
speaking of which, since we've lost OG, where we off grid, we want to do the Alien game. Let me know about 2 weeks in advance, and then let's try finding out if anyone is willing.
Before we put George's game prematurely to bed, George, you willing to take new players for Star Wars D6 who want to play evil-ish Sith-like characters?
Yeah, evil or not, even if they don't want to, I think there could be that dynamic. Because I don't think we really did two bad things. Like,
no. We've done shady things. We've been more of the Han Solo rather than the Darth Vader cutting down little kids.
Take care, Nerdy. I will see you Thursday. Looking forward to that. Yes, R.I.P. Tim Kask. That was we had a brutal month. We lost Gil Gerard, Tim Kask, and a guy you guys have never heard of named Chris Rea, one of the greatest musicians. I heard an interview with what's his name, Eric Clapton, referring to Chris Rea as the guitarist he feared the most. Not just a guitarist, but musician.
We've lost $15 billion worth of daycare funding.
Okay. No. Anyway, going back to games, if anyone's interested in the Star Wars / Alien game, well, the Alien game give me 2 weeks notice, but we probably would deal better with two.
If we don't get any nibbles on the hook for either of those right away, we'll come back here next Saturday and do this again. We had an amazing turnout, and I credit that all to the wonderful folks out there who've been, coming here and joining us. I will be signing up to Cake or Death Game channel. I hope everybody else will too. He seems like a cool guy into the same kind of cool wackiness that we all are. Hope everybody has a wonderful week. God bless you guys. Love you. And happy trails.